Hi, everybody. Ghosts of Hawaii. Good to see you all this evening on a very special night as Oahu begins its lockdown and the streets go quiet. But I can tell you something right now there are places that don't go quiet, and these are the places that are haunted or truly haunted. The streets are quiet, but places like Old Pully Drive never are. So, welcome. I'm excited to do this show tonight. I was sitting here today thinking about all the things we could possibly talk about. And let me just get into a little bit of the background as to why this is going on too right now. A few weeks ago, me and Joe, who is my guest here tonight, and I'm very excited to have him. We did a show about Judd Trail. We want to do like an overall point of view, an umbrella view of Judd Trail. But unfortunately, due to technical circumstances, that just did not happen. Hello, just one other gamer and Rini and everyone else that's here. It didn't happen because of the audio. The audio got kind of messed up. So, and it just got messed up again. So hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second. And let me see if I can correct this. Alexa, call Joe P.
Calling Joe P's Alexa devices.
Here we go with the technical stuff. Let me tell you something. When I do these shows, strange things happen. For those that are the long-time listeners, you've seen all the weird things happen, and tonight is no exception to that. So, hold on a second while I get everything situated. Anyway, all right, back again. So tonight we're going to talk about, like I said, haunted places and ghosts and everything else that go along with that. We had originally done a show on Judd Trail, but the audio got so bad. Speaking about that kind of things, the audio got bad, so it was the entire video wasn't usable. There were parts that were usable. There were other parts that weren't usable. So I was talking with Joe on the last show we did. I said, hey, why don't we just do a show on haunted places and ghost stories, which is exactly what me and Joe like to do. We love to talk about haunted places and ghost stories and everything else. Let's see what people are saying in the chat room tonight. Kuhal, thank you for being here. Joss, thank you for being here. Mama, thank you for being here. Good to see you. It's been a while, my friend. Just one other gamer, Rini, who says she is number 2. That's okay. You're still number 1. My sister is in here tonight. Ree is in here tonight. I am at home. That's where I'm at right now. And we're talking with Joe Punohu this evening. So we're going to get started, folks. And we're going to begin this series, something that I've always wanted to do. I know Joe wants to do. Haunted places. Haunted places and the ghost stories about them. As my sister says, where is it not haunted? And by the way, my sister's name isn't Robert, just so you know. Okay, so we're about to begin live from beautiful Kaneohe, a place that is also haunted. There's a few locations there. One of the places I can think of right now is the infamous story that I heard about the Burger King that had a Herb Kane painting, if I'm not mistaken, that was shared one time. I can't go into all the details because it's not my story, but the painting itself was haunted. Other places are haunted over there. Schools are haunted. And I'm sure many other locations as well. But anyway, folks, tonight from beautiful Kaneohe, on this first night of the lockdown, we got Joe Punohu here tonight. Folks, please give a nice warm welcome to Joe Punohu, everyone. Let's hear it for Joe Punohu. Aloha, good to see you tonight. Joe, it's so good to have you. Let me know if you can hear Joe. I'm just kind of wondering how my live stream is working. Let me know if you hear Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, test 1, 2, 3. Thanks, dude. It's nice to be back. Loving what we do, man. We always talk story. And driving around talking story is more preferable, but we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. Can you guys hear Joe? Someone say yes in the audience, please. Hold on one second. Can someone say you hear Joe? Can someone in the audience say, okay, you can hear Joe? All right, that's good. Awesome. With that said, let's rock and roll with this show tonight. Yeah, we can't drive around and do things like we did before. We can't even stop to say what's up at these places and then listen for a reply from whatever's out there. But nonetheless, we can gather around over here. Everybody, you know what I said before, right? This is like the old days. You just sit down, Everybody relax. Take off your face mask. There's no social distancing here. We just gonna talk story. And Uncle, well, you know what? They call you Uncle Joe now. So let's go with
Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe 2.
Uncle Joe. Yep.
Uncle Joe. Bless you all out there for being here tonight. Let's begin. Okay, and cool says, Uncle Joe, I hear you loud and clear. Thank you for storytelling time. Yes, we're going to do a lot more of this because we're getting closer to Halloween. And I know probably Joe's getting all psyched about that because that's when we really start going full throttle into the stories. So, Joe, tonight, one of our favorite locations, Judd Trail. We're just relaunching this whole thing with Judd Trail. Um, for me, the whole idea that there are places that never truly stop being haunted are the ones that draw me further and further into finding out why these things happen. What's your let's go with what's your connection with Judd Trail?
I've been there a lot. I was thinking when you're talking, for people who don't know Judd Trail, like for us, if somebody were to talk about a haunted place on the mainland, like let's say Rolling Hills, you would want to know the history, you would want to know some of the hauntings, some of the stories, that kind of stuff, some of the things. So I'm gonna try to talk in terms of that, like people that are listening have never actually come across, because I'm used to just talking about it, where most of the people already know what Judd Trail is. And I assume, because I've told the stories 1,000 times, most of the people have heard my stories too. All about our encounters and the encounters on the tour and stuff. But yeah, for those who didn't, we'll begin fresh. It's been a while since I've done that. Judd Trail, God, 2000, I'd say maybe about 2009, 2010 to about 2012. We went back there almost 4 times a week on doing ghost tours, just to tell stories and whatnot. So for me, that was at least once or twice, depending on the size of the tour, once or twice a week for 2 years. And then we go back there like maybe once or twice a week when it's just on average. Yeah. We can do that, or we can do more. So we've been there so many times. This to describe the place, it's on a dark, scary road, in the mountains. There's few sparse housings around it, but not near the trail. And it's really known to be haunted. It's a typical place where people go to make out, and people go to be alone and be in the dark, and the kind. And so naturally, there's a lot of stories revolved around some people that are just doing that, and then there's a lot of other people now who go ghost hunting over there. There's so many stories I've heard, so many stories that we have seen. I mean, anything ranging from interdimensionals to night marchers with a Oahu drum coming down from the river, to a woman crying and screaming for help, or just screaming in general, down to just remember we were looking for Bigfoot that night, right?
I remember looking for Bigfoot. Yeah, Bigfoot didn't really show up, but thank you for helping me with the cause. I appreciate that very much. Although we did find something later on that was very big and scary, that we call Kanaka Nui. 13 Souls, thank you for being here. We got 20 people in the chat room. Remember, you folks all rock with this channel, right? So at the end of this interview that we're doing, feel free to ask questions. Talk story amongst yourselves. Enjoy everything that this show has to offer you. We are doing ghost stories. We're doing some of the most haunted places on the island. There's too many to cover every single one of them. You can't do Chaminade and some of these other locations out there, but we can do the Chaminade is crazy, dude. No offense, just Chaminade is crazy. There are some crazy spots out there, but we are doing some of the most haunted ones that we know of, and again, the true life encounters. Joe, before going any further, I wanted to share a thought with you that I probably never told you before, but I think I'm going to share it right now. There is a story about the jump rope girl, and from what I understand, there's many different versions. Some people say it's on our side where we go out and go ghosting, which is what I call it. So and there's other people that say it's on the windward side at that other Morgan's Corner, because there's 2 Morgan's Corner. Don't believe the whole that there's 4 of them. There's 2 of them. But there have been times, I wanted to share this thought with you. ghosts sometimes can, I believe, be even drawn to you thinking about them. And just because you don't get that fantastic, oh, look at the apparition in front of your eyes type of thing, doesn't mean that you don't feel something like that around you. And I gotta tell you, there have been a couple of times. I think one of them was sitting in your van one night, and we were looking up the road in the dark. And I said, "Oh, there's something coming." I never told you what I really thought was coming, but I thought it was Jump Rope Girl, man. I am not joking. I thought it was Jump Rope Girl. And like I said, just because you don't see her, and now this is one of the stories that when we get together, it's like, let's talk about Jump Rope Girl. She's scary. She's very, very scary. And she's one of those ghosts where I don't think she wants to be scary on purpose, but she's scary. But I wanted to ask you, have you ever felt like ghosts like that were around? Because I felt her around, dude. What is your impression on that?
Um, my impression on that, I was thinking about is of all the times we've been there, it has never manifested.
Yes.
We might have felt the presence, but we can't tell whether it's her or not. We've
Hmm.
taken psychics back there, we've taken mediums, but it's never manifested. Glenn Grant's the one that introduced the stories to us in his book, Tales from the Dark Side of the Cabinet, Obaki Files. He, as is his nature, doesn't reveal the locations of the story, for privacy and whatnot. So it could be a lot of different places. But for me, I started telling that story there because number one, it's a scary story. And number two, I can totally see it happening there. It has all the elements. And a part of it too that really sold it for me, that fit and made it feel in and made it feel right, was the encounter that I had way before the ghost tours when I used to just go ghost hunting. Yeah, the one about when me and my friends were driving on Halloween night.
Hmm.
You want me to tell that story? I can, but it kind of reminds me because then you have that woman, you have that girl connection as well, right?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Female spirits, just like they say in Japan. I don't know what it is, but there's just a really powerful energy about them, especially when they've been done wrong. So, yeah, I don't know what to say any more than that. But feel free to share, yeah, stuff that has to relate to the area or Judd Trail itself, because I mean, I guess you have to be one of those people, seriously, that if you like when I was a kid, I know my sister's listening. My dad used to take us what he used to go. It's let's go riding. Let's go cruising. So you get in a car and you drive around. He tells some pretty interesting stuff to us. But at night you drive up Old Pully Drive. And you're a kid and you're experiencing all these weird, twisted, spooky-looking trees and everything. And he was into it, man. A couple of times he would just like turn the lights off. And all of a sudden you're just like totally freaked out. You really it becomes more than reality. You feel each and every one of these type of energies that just kind of like press up against the window around you. And that's my earliest memories of Old Pully Drive. But when you drive up that road, like me and Joel do at times, and you get up to, you get up past Morgan's Corner, that infamous hairpin turn that I talked about before. And when you pull up to Judd Trail and you see that area, I mean, something's going to happen. Something is going to happen, and sometimes I think I've been with Joe on this, or I've been with some people on it. Give you an idea of how haunted Judge Trail is or how scary it is. There have been nights that you pull up to that place and you kind of like roll down your window and you look out there and it's like, not tonight. And then you just it. I don't know if you had. Yeah, I don't know, Joe, but there's just sometimes like, not tonight. I'm getting chicken skin right now. I get goosebumps on my hair and hair on my goosebumps. It's all mixed up for me. But yeah,
On your hair.
yeah, that's what it is, dude. But have you ever felt that way? Like some nights you go there and it's just way too intimidating at all? Because I know it's just haunted, but there are nights where you go from a scale from 1 to 10, and then you just lose track of counting. It's so scary.
Yeah, there's nights, yeah, like you said, on a scale of 1 to 10, there's nights where you can feel it is more intense than other nights. Where I drive by and it's like, Yeah, no.
And
It's like, maybe not tonight. We'll come back tomorrow.
come back tomorrow. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, you get that feeling. Usually, as soon as you hit that pitch black tree tunnel, as soon as you turn off the lit road and you're driving down that pitch black road. And by the way, guys, the description is you driving down this road with trees that overhang the road. You can't see the sky. So you're in a dense forest and you're driving through a tree tunnel for maybe about what, mile and a half, 2 miles?
yeah.
And this is the Old Pali Road on the Oahu side. And yeah, we're driving by and you can just feel it already, bro. It's like you can feel the energy in the air. You can like taste it. You know, there's something here. There's something that's going to happen. Things are watching us and following us just as soon as we start entering the pitch black and start driving, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 13 Soul says something about from what the doorway. Oh, you mean when you're going up? Yes, that's what we're talking about. Once you go into the tree tunnel, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Definitely talking about that. Once you go in there, and that's the whole thing about Judd Trail. You see, the whole place is haunted. You go up that. I mean, seriously, I wish people would give Old Pali Drive, Pali Lookout, and that whole New Awana region more of an in-depth look, because if there was a place that you wanted to see if it's haunted, go there, go park your car at Judd Trail, turn off the lights, and just, try not to say too much to see what happens, because something does and will happen over there. But yes, Joe, isn't that true? It's just something will happen eventually if you just
Oh
sit
yeah,
there.
you wait long enough, something will happen. I mean, that's been proven to us time and time again. Remember spending like 8, 10 hours just hanging out there from the time the sun went down until like 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, I remember that. I do. And I think part of it is because Judd Trail, like what you were talking about, it's so many, the representation comes in so many facets. Sometimes it's just, we think about the portals that open up, the doors for spirits to enter into our world. And it just seems like maybe because of its entire past or things that happened even before the Battle of Nu'uanu, it just seems to be very activated by history itself. But these doors open up and then things happen. And then sometimes it's just like, it'll be consistent and then it'll be things here and there, but trust me, it's scary. It really truly is. Joe, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are some of the things that haunt Judd Trail?
I was just thinking about going into that. Let's go over some of the history that we know.
Okay.
Based on the experiences we've had there and the things we've read and stuff. Documentation wise, I forget the title of the book, but it was a book about the Battle of the Pali, which is the Battle of the Pali was the one on Nu'uanu Valley, and it went through the area Kahu Island, which is known as Judd Trail. That's the little area over there. It mentions that the battle, and now if you think of the Battle of the Pali, you think of the Pali, which in Hawaiian is cliff or precipice. About a 900-foot drop. The army of Kamehameha pushed the warriors of the army of Oahu over the 900-foot drop down to their deaths below, and that's how he conquers the island. But from the perspective of the retired general, he was a very high-ranking military personnel and strategist that wrote that book. And he walked through the reader, to each battle site. And he showed old maps and stuff of how it looked, and, old ancient heiaus or ancient temples with rock walls and, that kind of stuff. Pointed out where on one of them, it still stands, they have the rope where the cannons were actually tied into place on that heiau. Anyway, getting sidetracked. Judd Trail was an area where you can hike over several mountains. You can hike for about 4 hours and come out in Manoa Valley or Canvas or anywhere in between. So this was the last line of defense for the Oahu army. Now, Kamehameha had trapped the Oahu army into Nu'uanu Valley and started pushing them up towards the precipice, towards the cliff or towards the Pali. And as they fought up the battle, the warriors of Oahu were outnumbered and they knew the inevitable conclusion. So they took their stand, perhaps, at Judd Trail, where Judd Trail sits now. So they held that trail they paid for holding that trail with their blood, with their suffering, with so many deaths, so that their family could escape over the trail and find safety. so that their elderly, their children, the people who didn't fight the Maka'aina Na, the commoners, they could escape the trail and they could escape Kamehameha the Great's rampage. Now, Hawaiian records are very oral, which means one person says this, another person says that. So, I mean, if you research it, you may find something else saying it differently. That's how I've come to understand it. That place, Judd Trail, has a lot of stuff, but below all of that stuff, you have the ground, the Aina, that has been stained and bathed in the blood of many, many warriors that have died right where you're walking through. And because of that, you can feel that anguish, you can feel that energy seep up from the Aina now and again. And because we're human and it's human emotions, it affects us as well. The terrifying, because Kamehameha's army was terrifying. They outnumbered them almost 2-1, and these were huge brothers, you know. And they had guns and cannons and everything, but they may have been afraid. But either way, they lost it, and they lost the battle, and so many people died over there. That's the history that we know. Now, you remember the time that that we went on to the other side of the bridge and explored there with your roommate?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. I watched in the flash of your camera a shadow moving around.
Yeah,
When
that's
you were
one of the
taking
things.
pictures,
Yes.
you were getting the shadow. Yeah, and I could see the shadow move around in the flash of the camera. This predates the battle, which was in 1795,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there. This predates the battle. We went back over there one night, a place that we rarely go to. I think for us, it was just that once, right?
Where, that place you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never went back in there.
Yeah, and it has a completely different vibe to it. Different than Judd Trail, and it feels like you were being watched. The watching is very oppressive.
Well, let's discuss
It,
that for a second there. Let's go into the little bit more of the detail of that. From what I remember about that situation is, you had told us this is a place adjacent to Judd Trail. There's a little bridge, and past that there's this other area. I won't give you all the descriptive, but Joe was telling us all that there's tents over there. There was a tent over there, so somebody was camping in there or something. So we were kind of curious, and I went in there with Joe and my roommate, who is a very gifted psychic. And when we went in there, we were looking around, and Joe, you can take it from there. Go right ahead.
yeah, yeah, she's a psychic. It's just, bruh.
Yeah.
She helped us see. She went to she started off like there's something around us, and this thing is older than people, kind of thing. And then it turned into a first person. Like, she's like, this thing is old, this thing is ancient, and it lives here. It wants to know why this, it wants to know. And then she was like, why do you guys come here? I'm like, excuse me? And I'm looking at her, and it's no longer her we're talking to. Why?
Yes, she's channeling.
Here?
Yes.
Yeah, something had taken over her and was using her as a tool. It didn't this was like 2011, maybe. This was a while ago. I remember it didn't like, not us, but it didn't like what we are doing to the area. It sounded like an ancient forest spirit. And it doesn't know why we're building roads. It doesn't know why we have people over there all the time, why we have all of this noise coming by all the time, and it didn't like it at all. And that's when Obaki hunters started taking pictures. And there was this big shadow moving around us in the flash of the camera. So that adds a little bit more of a flavor to the area. That's kind of how the area is. Do you have anything you want to add to that, dude?
Oh no, but I was gonna say, let's look at next the geography. There are certain things there that I believe that the spirits interact with. We'll go into the trees, but one that we haven't really discussed before is that when we were going to Judd Trail, that Joe was drawn to these rocks at the beginning of the trail as you're going down. You remember those rocks, Joe? The one where you said that they were doing sacrifices, possibly, or something. See,
Yes.
yeah, see, okay. Now, we haven't talked about that in ages, eons. So, let's give your impression of that.
Okay. When you're heading down the trail, there's rocks on the side, and it just looks like rocks on the side of the trail. You know, I didn't think anything of it. I noticed on the tour, however, people would there would be activity there when we would do the tour because we'd mostly hang out on the top overlooking the rocks. And I've had different encounters where different psychics on different nights of the tour with nothing in common. Several of them will point to the rocks and say, "There's something over there watching us." It ranged from there was something green over there watching us, and there was something with red eyes over there watching us. And night after night, you hear the same thing at the same place, kind of a description, and you start to wonder why. And so I would start to incorporate that in the tour and say, oh, I don't know what it is, but there's something over there. And I had a Hawaiian kupuna, a Hawaiian auntie with me. Or no, it was a guy. It was an older gentleman, right? And we walked by and he pointed out the rocks, and I didn't even say anything about the rocks. And he pointed out the rocks, and he's like, "Hey boy, look over there." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Uncle, what's up?" He's like, "You see those rocks? That's Luakini. Those rocks were used for human sacrifice." And I looked at him. I'm like, "How do you know that?" And so he started pointing. He's like, "Look, you see that part in the rock? That's where you fit your face. Perfectly fit the nose, the cheekbone, the forehead." He's like, "You see this part? That's where they stick your arms. And you see right around where your face would be? You see all the indentions, all the places where the rock has been chipped and broken? That's when they struck the head and broke the head. That's when they struck the head and broke your head open, and the tools or the weapons would chip on the rock." He's like, "This rock was used for human sacrifice. This rock was stained in blood and pain and anguish and suffering and all of that stuff." So that's kind of how I started to learn about that rock, that Oahu. Hawaii is not all Mai Tais on the beach, okay? Hawaiians never just hung out under a coconut tree and played a ukulele all day. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of tourists, the people who come and visit here, don't know. Hawaiians never originally changed their hotel sheets either,
That's right.
Hawaii is a whole culture. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember also. This is something that was very scary. That we were there once, and you were showing how that looks like when you're putting your body in the pose of what that. And Jennifer was there. You was putting your body, it's like, this is where the head goes and everything. And Jen got totally scared, and she said, "Don't do that." And it's like, why? She goes, "There's this huge guy." Jen, okay, let me explain again about Jen. Jen is from New York City, does not have any understanding at all about ghosts here at all. I mean, in many ways, Joe can attest to that. Amazing.
Everything.
Oh, just a couple of days ago, she did it again. She was at Mapuna Puna. Real quickly, let me deviate just real quick to make this point.
Mm-hmm.
So she was at Mapuna Puna, and she was starting to feel like there were spirits around there, Hawaiian spirits. She was describing villages, and we've had discussions about spirit villages with Ku and Lorene, as a matter of fact, my friend from a long time ago. Anyway, she said, "Well, what's up with that area?" I said, "Well, nearby is 99 Ranch Mart, which is not that far away, and there's stories about that area with ghosts and night marches and everything." But anyway, this is before we had done a show, or no, while we were doing a show. Jen wanted to ask Ku something, so she said, "I heard these people that were wearing malos and everything, and they were talking and chanting," and then she repeated some of the words to Ku, and Ku just kind of like, "Wait a minute," and he explained that was a very important chant. Jen doesn't know these things, okay? Does not know. She can barely pronounce Hawaiian. Seriously, no joke about that. Anyway, so getting back to this to make a point, Joe's in that position of the sacrifice and everything. Jen's eyes get big. She goes, "Don't do that. There's a big man above you." She describes the war helmet and everything. And what got me too is that afterwards, she said he was holding some kind of club or sword in his hand, a club. And I was looking at stuff online, and she actually described, I mean, she actually pointed out, she said, that right there. And it was one of those war clubs with the teeth in them that the Hawaiians use. No joke.
Mm.
No joke, guys. She saw, like, they were like looking at Joe like, you shouldn't be there that much longer because for whatever reason, there was a big guy above him that looked like he was going to break his head open or something. But such is the ways of Judd Trail. Switching up a bit, there's also another place. Talk about rocks and indentions and things that were put there. The Pohaku. This is another famous point of interest at Judd Trail. Joe, you want to say something about the Pohaku down below by
Yeah.
the river?
First, I want to make some. I want to incorporate some of the comments.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Hawaii has four spirits too. Yeah, nature. Hawaii has a lot of nature spirits from the Smarty Pants Hellcat. Hawaii has a lot of nature spirits, a lot of things that predated Hawaii. There are legends and chants that mention there were hundreds of thousands of man-eating spirits when the Hawaiians first came here, and they either left or they were killed. Some of them still linger, and where they end up is in the dark forests in the middle of nowhere, away from man, away from where people are, which is perfect for Judd. That's what I think we have as well over there. But interestingly enough, there was maybe I'll say a little bit more about it later, but we did encounter something that looked like a Japanese spirit there. It looked like a kodama, a tree spirit, how the Japanese depicted it in anime. Anyway, yeah. Mama Liam said that's what we call elementals. Yeah, we have. We're familiar with the term elementals. We call them differently here. The word we use would be akua, right? Not ke akua, not with a capital A, but how I describe it is uhane are ghosts and ghostful people. Then you have the kupua, the demigods, the shapeshifters that are half and half. And then you have the things that were never human to begin with, like Madame Pele, goddess of the volcanoes. She would be akua. She would be a goddess or a demigoddess, but she's 100% spirit kind of thing. Yeah, we have mo'o, which are water elementals. We've had a lot of people call them that as well. It's fascinating. I don't know what this one would be though. This was not a water elemental. This thing, it felt more ancient, and the mana was resonated. It felt ancient. It didn't feel like it belonged to a certain element. I think it's not really fair to try and categorize non-human spirits as a element, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But mo'o 100% are water. Yeah.
Yes, they are. I remember a story my dad told me when he was a kid. No, that his relatives talked about at Sacred Falls, I believe, or was it Waimea? But I think it was Sacred Falls. And people said they used to see mermaids on the rocks over there. What I think they actually were experiencing was because of the mole's connection with water was probably mo'o.
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Mo'o, mermaids, kappa in Japan, all over the world, they behave the same. The place they dwell in is the same. They lure people, that's the same. They shapeshift. They turn into a beautiful woman or a child crying for help. That's consistent legend and lore around the world. They all share commonalities in that aspect. A kodama, yes. A kodama, like Princess Mononoke, that's how I remember it. I watched it a long time ago. It was a little tiny white thing, maybe about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. It looked like a stick man that skidded across the river when we invited it to come. We could see it in the moonlight. And it hid behind rocks, so it was very shy. And then this is in front of an entire group of people. Nobody took pictures, we all just watched. And it came from the side of the river that we were previously talking about. We go down the trail at Judd, but that night me and Obake had crossed the bridge. We crossed the river up on the road and went to the other side of the river. That's where this little thing came from. Yeah. That's how we know it wasn't a person, Kimchi.
Yep, there you go. Hold on 1 second. I gotta throw in some of my sister's comments. I feel bad that I'm not responding to what my sister said. Yeah, she was talking about the Mapuna Puna area. And yeah, that's true. My sister lived in this neighborhood up in Mapuna, and there's a small old cemetery around there. And she said at night, late at night, they would see ghosts walking up and down the road from that cemetery. And I don't know about you, but they should lower maybe slightly the land value there or the property tax because of that fact. But yeah, so and then she talked about, yes, it was Sacred Falls that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, there are situations that go on over there. I call it overlap, where I think there are several different types of experience going on at the same time. A really classic example was again shared by a wonderful psychic friend of ours who went to visit one of the places up there in that area that are known to be haunted up on Old Pali Drive. And she said what she saw on the spirit side. I think we have to do a show on what goes on the spirit side of things. But she said she saw spirits from many different time eras existing, existing with each other, just finding their place. And, they were all good with that. And I think Judd Trail might be a place that is like that because, well, one of the things that kind of make me wonder about Judd Trail also is how it just draws in, for some reason or another, tragedy. Like not only was the Battle of New Awana there was not many people know about it, but near that area, and someone actually confirmed it to me of Judd Trail, there was a murder. A murder took place of a young woman. So she shared with me that, and then of course nearby to there, talk about places of tragedy is of course the murder site of Therese Wilder. But we'll talk about Morgan's Corner, the real Morgan's Corner, on another show itself. But with that said, all these things going on, there's some things that are there with all the haunting and the screaming and the apparitions. There are some things there that just kind of like stand out that may not exactly be connected to all of that. And I would say it is the Pohaku, that one Pohaku down below. And that's how me and Joe actually met, was from that Pohaku. That's how
Yeah.
all of that happened. So I was there one night and I was with a group of people and I was sharing my thoughts about haunted places and helping them out because they were curious about it. And I was kind of like, what I do is I'll take people down to the Pohaku and we'll talk about the significance of Hawaii, its culture, the history. I mean, everything you could possibly think of. Just bring it all together, and then at some point, something will usually happen by the Pohaku. You hear a voice, or you hear someone walking around, and I'll say something like, "Okay, turn off all your flashlights." They go, "What are you talking about?" Turn off your flashlights. Just turn them off. So they do, and then I say, "Well, I know it's scary, but I want you to think about this. If they really wanted to, they could stop us from leaving right now. So take that into mind and remember how special Hawaii is." We're doing one of those moments, and I look up at the top of the trail. I see this white light, and I'm like, what the hell is that? But yeah, take it away from there, Joe. I look up and I see the light, and there you were.
Scared out of my pants.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys was doing, bro. I thought you guys were hiding because you thought I was the cops or something. But
No.
I went down there. I didn't know anybody was there. I kept hearing voices, I kept hearing voices whispering and little subtle movements. And I'm like, son of a... I had to go to that place because on the tour we had a young lady who got scratched. And that's a no-go on my tour. There's a line that I draw. You don't harm people on my tour for the spirits. If something is bad, you can scare us, tell us to go away, come up and tell me. You do not scratch people on my tour. I'm the one that's in charge of them while they're out with me. That's kind of how it's always been. So I went back to say, hey, what the hell, guys? It scratched, and it scratched her sweater. It was her forearm that scratched. And she was wearing a sweater, a knit, like, kind of sweater. And I could tell it scratched her because it went through the sweater. It, it scratched the sweater, and it left a scratch on her forearm. And we put some holy water on, and it prayed, and within a couple minutes, it was completely gone. There was like a welting thing from to begin with, and then it was nothing. So I went back to see what the hell, you know. Apparently, she got scratched so that I could go back there and meet a Wakina. But I went back to talk to the spirits, and I remember even thinking, what the hell are you doing? I parked the car, it's pitch black, and I'm getting out at 1 o'clock in the morning by myself, and I'm like, what are you doing, Joe? And I'm like, in my other head, I'm like, no, this is important. We have to do this. We have to do this. And I'm like, I'm terrified. 1 foot in front of the other. It's pitch black. I only have a small little flashlight beam. You know, flashlights, I don't care how good they are not good enough. They should much better.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather see everything around me or nothing at all. I would rather not see a 2-foot square or circle in one general direction at any given time. And yeah, anyway, so that's how I met Obake.
Yes, that's how we met. And that Pohaku has always been something significant. Let me address something that Mama said. Do you all help the spirits cross to the light or take offerings to the spirits? You know, I've done it several times. One of them was at a murder location. The other one was an apparent suicide. And the other one was at a very famous location in Kaimoki at this bridge that everyone knows the story about this little girl that died tragically in an automobile accident. So 3 times that I know of that. As far as Ho'okupu, there was one time that people, my friend that speaks to the Hawaiian spirits, it's a long story, folks, but she speaks to the Hawaiian spirits, was telling us that the spirits were very upset because of certain things that were going on at that time. So long story short, me and my friend, who is a talented psychic, we went down to Judd Trail, and there's this pohaku down there. I'll let Joe describe it to you after. But anyway, we bought a ho'okupu with us, and we bought some fish and sweet potato and stuff, and some tea leaf. And the sun was going down, and up at Judd Trail, when the sun goes down, the sun goes down. I mean, it really goes down. There's no 2 ways about it. It's dusk, you know, and it just got dark really quick. We did our thing, and we said, we're very sorry that you're upset with the way people have been acting. And usually I don't even do ho'okupus. But anyway, long story short, all of a sudden it went from dusk to like dark. I mean dark. I mean pitch black. Can't see anything around you. You know, we got our flashlights with us. The dark is pressing in around the flashlight. That's scary, you know, because we never experienced that over there. And then all of a sudden, because we left the ho'okupu up the river, you could hear conch shells. And, you know, that was probably the first time I heard them. And at first I heard them, and I was doing a recording, and I said, Jen, do you hear that? She goes, what? I go, and then she heard it. She goes, what is that? I said, that's the conch shell. So we were like scared out of our freaking mind. Seriously, it's dark. The flashlights can only shoot the beam so much in front of us. And to go from the top to the bottom, if it's at night, it'll at least take you like 2 or 3 minutes just to get to the pohaku. Because what we did was we put the whole kupu between the pohaku and there's a second pohaku. So in between the two. The time that third conch shell came, brah, we were up at the top. Seriously, I don't know how we did it. It was like a magic trick, you know. We just got up to the top of the trail. So as far as I'm concerned, I did leave Ho'okupu. I did. And there was a reaction to that. And to this day, I kind of wonder, and I think Lorene and Jen was kind of explaining it too. It's like they were kind of like going through the area, but they weren't coming after us because we had done something very pono. But still, me, I'm out of the place. Ho'okupus are very powerful. I know Joe has left Ho'okupu there as well. Thank you, Joe, for letting me share that story, because that was a significant thing at Judd Trail for me.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was scary.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for going with me. I sure as hell do not want to go down there by myself. You know?
Yeah.
Especially after everything that happened there that night.
But then Pohaku, Joe, is something very significant about it, don't you think? There's something significant about that Pohaku.
Well, it's a beautiful rock. It's a beautiful block. It has little carvings, but not like petroglyph. My thought is that it has these round, circular carvings, and not just a circle, but a three-dimensional sphere. Like somebody had tried to carve. Um, my first initial impression is like somebody tried to carve a bowl using a rock. It looks like the bottom of the bowl in two other places. It's shaped like a conch shell, and it's a beautiful place. And spirits, from what I know, from my experiences and the stories I've heard, and they like to dwell in places like that. They're not just going to pick a random rock. I mean, if you can pick a house, you go pick a mansion. They dwell in objects. They dwell in rocks. They dwell in wood. They dwell in anything. That's why in Hawaii everything is sacred. You don't want to kick them out of the house. It had a good view of everything, and that's important as well. A lot of spirits will attach to it. So okay, just watch people walk by, hang out, that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, that Oahu, you can tell it's just it's kind of right in the middle. You definitely see it, and there's nothing else around it, and it's just it has a great feeling to it. But people are stupid.
Yes, they are. I was just thinking while you were talking, as I'm wont to do. Um, Now, imagine that Pohaku was probably there during the battle. So, and I tell you about my spiritual downloads and everything. What if someone put something there to make the place Pono after, and that,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Because of the battle,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
does
yeah,
does
yeah.
that kind of make
Because
sense?
it's interesting too, because you get a lot more of the battle vibe
Yes,
up in the clearing than you do on the bottom.
yes, yes, yes. That's right.
It's scarier when you're right next to your car than it is when you go further down into the pitch black sometimes, where it
Yes.
gets even darker and more oppressive, and the trees are thicker and all of that. It's a different kind of haunting from the top to the bottom.
So you think is it possible that what they did to that rock was to help Pono or something possibly? Just as a theory.
I, as a theory, I would say yes, but no,
Okay.
because I believe that it's a mo'o, a water elemental, one of the legendary Hawaiian creatures, a lizard person.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all bad where they lure people and all of that stuff. A lot of them are watchers. A lot of them, they just like us. They have free will. They just do whatever. Doesn't mean that they're innately good or bad or. But you got to remember too, during the time of the war, the Oahu Valley's whole geography was completely different. It wasn't green and lush. The river wasn't even flowing. That happened after Kalakaua, I believe, directed the water from the windward side over to the leeward side. And once he directed the water towards the leeward side, because he wanted to make all of these terraces, these lo'i kalo, right? He wanted to make all of these lo'i, these terraces to grow taro. So he rerouted the water from the windward side, which the spirit weren't very happy about. But that's when the river became a river. So the river wasn't there, and if the spirit had predated it, and this was probably 1880s, 1890s, 1870s. If the Oahu was there before, maybe the spirit had moved in after Kalakaua had changed it.
Could be. Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point. My spiritual vision that I had though was that somehow that rock, that Pohaku, it kind of keeps a check and balances in that place. I could see in my head like a swirling energy coming out of it, and it just helps neutralize or make things right again. And the one
I
thing I
can
can
see
say
that.
about you see that,
I can see that.
yeah, yeah,
Then that's also why when it was desecrated and people graffitied on
yes,
it, it was not. I got sick by trying to clean it. Just touching it. That could have been, as I said, as I theorized before, just the mana, the energy, and me reacting to it. Or it could have been more negative, darker entities that didn't want me to do it.
yes,
They didn't want the balance to be restored.
mm-hmm. Yes, that's I see it as a spirit. Okay, tell me if this makes sense. I see it as a spiritual placeholder. Boom, it's put there for that reason. And I mean, when I go down there, I always feel, when I go near the Pohaku, I feel good. I
Like
really
a
feel,
lightning rod.
yeah, like a lightning rod. Exactly. Yeah, like that, and I feel good. When I don't know if it's a marker for a ley line, I don't know, and if nature worked it out that way, or whatever the case may be, but I feel it does, it's something there that brings balance and, it keeps it like that. And I always feel good around it. That's why when you said, and this happened several years ago, Joe Punohu is also a hero in my eyes because, it was a scary thing when that happened. When these people graffitied the rock, there was a time when people were going down there. Then they didn't only graffiti the Pohaku, they graffitied the rocks around it as well. It was just very blatant, arrogant, stupid uh, displays that people did down there. But Joe found it enough in him to go down there with his friend. And this isn't even the first time he did something at the Pohaku. There's another story. But he cleaned the rock as best as he can. I remember taking a photo while he was doing that, and there was like this bright energy that where he was cleaning the rock, like this energy came out of the rock. And I thought that was a way of like um, confirming or nodding, and saying this is good. This is
Yeah.
the right thing to do. What was happening, Joe, when you did that? Can you kind of tell us how you felt and everything when you went to the Pohaku to do that?
I just didn't feel any different. It felt like I was in a bubble, but I couldn't feel anything else around me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
Yeah, that was incredible. And
But we gotta take care of Judd Trail. We go there a lot. And the
mhm.
spirits, for us, the spirits have a rapport with us. They know us.
Yes.
And I've always tried to keep the balance pono, and I see myself as almost like an intermediary between the spirits and the people. I tell ghost stories about that place to add perspective to people and hopefully enhance their lives. And I tell stories so that the spirits can enjoy it as well, and so that they can be more patient when stupid people come along and do stuff like that, because they need to realize that we're not all doing it, that it wasn't a desecration thing. It wasn't like me going up and spitting in your face. It was just stupid young people that think it's fun to tag their names on things.
Hmm.
So basically, don't go and kill their entire family with a curse, kind of thing. That kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So like we've cleaned up the place too. I don't know how many times people leave all the freaking rubbish over there. Pardon my language, but my God, dude. And the spirits reacted to that too. I love that. I love that story.
Yep, they do. They react to things. Um, I have a beautiful story about the place. I know that this was several years ago that I went up there because not all stories are scary, and that's the wonderful thing about. Although, trust me when I say this. When you're caught up in a place up at Judd Trail and you get scared, you get scared. But when you go home, you have that adrenaline. You're like, what? This is something for the books. This is something that I'm always going to remember. This is something I can reflect upon, and I can share and balance between the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's just a whole bunch of things that inhabit that area. But I remember one night we were there, and so we went down the trail, and there's this long wooden log that we call that base camp. And me and my friend, who is, by the way, is going to be on the show, folks, he's got some crazy stories to share with you folks too. We went down there and we sat down, and my friend was curious to go down by the river. I guess he wanted to get some photos and see what he could get from that. And it's just a visit, and we're sitting down. I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden, I start to hear stuff, and then it's like it's hard to explain this feeling, guys. But imagine like someone has a whole bunch of like leis or flowers, beautiful gardenia and something like that, and you start to smell it from the distance, and then the smell starts to get closer and closer and closer to you, and to finally the smell of flowers. And people have always said in the past, or some people have said in the past, how smells are definitely connected to hauntings. and it was like somebody was trying to put a layer around my neck or put flowers in front of my face. It was strong. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And an interesting thing happened. Talk about vortexes and time overlap. My friend was by the river. He turned around to go look at me because we carry these little lanterns with us, and where he's standing, he can kind of see where I am sitting down because I have my light and everything. He said everything looked different. He couldn't like discern, exactly where I was sitting down as well. But you know, that's an amazing feeling when you go to a place and instead of being scared out of your mind, something is saying aloha to you. So take that for what you want. But and then he told me too that he smelt it. And that's why he was looking for me. I was like, well, what is the smell of flowers? Where's that coming from? I guess it's one of those things where you have to be there because there's not much in the ways of like that type of environment. There's flowers, yeah, there's places with flowers, but not like someone coming to you and walking up to you and putting that in your face. Incredible how Judd Trail shows us so many different experiences. So I just wanted to share that as well to give a little bit of balance that I got from the Pohaku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's good stories there too. But let's tell a scary story now. People want to hear scary stories.
Yeah, please. Let's get to some scary stuff right now. I mean, really scary stuff. Judd Trail has that side to it, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me address some of these, couple of these comments. Smarty pants. Didn't know my people brought kodamas to Hawaii. Bruh, your people brought kodamas, inugami, mujina, noperabo to Hawaii.
Yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate it.
We got Japanese ghosts hunting Hawaii. We get Filipino aswang hunting Hawaii. We get all kinds of stuff hunting Hawaii.
Yeah, we mean it when we say appreciate it because we do appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, the old cemetery in Manoa Valley. Yeah, we're not going to go ghost hunting there. It's a cemetery. And it's closed. And it has a lot of tea leaf too, I noticed.
Oh, we'll definitely do a show about Manoa Chinese Cemetery. You know that already. That's coming up. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
We're going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yes, we help spirits cross over to the light. It depends what we're called to do, Mama Lia. If the spirit needs to, for me, I follow my guides. If the spirit needs to be crossed over, yeah, we've done that before as well. I got a friend who pretty much does that full time. Good Lord, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, as I said, I'm an intermediary between the spirits. Like, for example, somebody asked me for help. Their house is being haunted. Nobody's being attacked, touched, scratched, that kind of stuff. But there is definite stuff in the house. There's anger. There's doors slamming. There's, somebody watching them as they sleep. There's touching, that kind of stuff. So we find out that one was interesting. And I got randomly messaged from a psychic friend of mine who wasn't even in touch with this. I wasn't even in touch with this case. And she said, Joe, are you working a case over in this area? I'm like, yeah, how do you know? She's like, because there's a spirit that came to talk to me and tell me to tell you something. I'm like, sure, what's going on? And she's like, well, he's telling me that he lives under the house. He's buried under the house. And the reason he's haunting them is because they're dirty. They don't clean the house. They throw their cigarette butts all over the yard, garbage all over the yard. Their house is in chaos, just hoarders, all of that kind of stuff. And the house was dirty, the house was messy, and so he took that as a sign of disrespect. So I communicated that to the family that needed help, and they managed to, I hope anyway, because we lost contact. I'm guessing everything was good after that, but they made Punohu. The spirit became happy, and they became happy. That's kind of what we do. Anyway, sorry. This is the one before I started doing the ghost tours and the ghost hunting. We're just a bunch of, me and my friends were just a bunch of kids running around, high school kids. We'd be right out of high school, driving to haunted places, scare each other. Halloween night, we drove down. It was about midnight. We drove down, we're like, oh, what you guys doing tonight? After we go trick-or-treating for that 5th time, right? Like, hey, we go over this corner. Oh, yeah. Shoots, let's go. So we jump in the car and we go. And me and my friend and my brother. And so we drive in, and as I said, it hits midnight, right? We drive in over the Pali, because I live Kaneohe, and we're coming down and we're driving now down the old Tully Road, right? In the pitch black tree tunnels, and me, I'm the one driving. So I'm being stupid, just turning off the lights, and driving, making everybody scared, and that kind of stuff. And we get out to where the lights were on again, where the lights come back, and it's like, nothing over here, nothing tonight. It doesn't feel like anything, no ghosts, no spookies, whatever. Let's go back home. So we turned around, drove back up the road, and about maybe 100 yards up the road from Judd Trail, from the trailhead, I was driving, kind of turning my lights on and off again, acting stupid. And I saw a car coming down. Came right around the turn, coming down towards us. I'm like, okay, we'll keep the lights on, respectful. And so I did, and we just driving because now there's somebody else you got to worry about. Driving good and stuff. And then, like, the car pulls into my lane and stops. And I'm like, okay. Car pulls into my lane, stops, turns the headlights up, one click, so just the parking lights were on. And we still about 40 yards, 50 yards away, and I stop the car, and they're in my headlights, and I'm looking at them like, what the hell's going on? But somebody like act stupid or what? I get there's 3 guys in this car, go ahead and try act stupid, I'm getting kind of nuts, the Hawaiian blood is kind of like, oh, what these guys doing, Then the passenger door opens up, and this lady in a white dress, this white lady, is just thrown out of the car. Like the driver just threw her out of the car. I didn't see anything in the front seat. I was looking at the, the lights and stuff. I couldn't see inside the car, but the front door opened on the passenger, and this lady just like flew out of the car onto the road, into a crumpled heap. Then the lights turned on, and the car sped away, leaving the girl on the road. And I'm like, oh, brah. We should go help this I don't know. I think it was a white car. I think so. I was like, oh, I got to remember. They're like, oh, bro, we got to go help this person. I'm like, bro, you don't want to be stuck on this road any night, let alone Halloween on midnight. You know what I mean? So we go help this person. And my friend my friend in the back seat was, oh, nah, bro. Domestics, bro. No, do that, bro. No, bro, just keep driving, bro. Don't get involved in domestics, bro. No, do that. I'm like, nah, dude, we gonna give this lady a ride to wherever she needs, So I'm driving slowly, and she's still in my headlights, and I'm still looking, and I'm talking to my friend, And I get right up to where right up to where the lady is, and my brother just freaks out. He's in the front seat. Yeah, my brother was in the front seat, and he grabs the steering wheel and keeps me on the road, and then slams my foot into the gas. So we drive right by her, and I'm like, bro, you almost would cause one car accident, bro. What the heck, dude? I almost would hit the lady, and he was just kind of white, and he looked at me, he's like, bruh, you never saw that? I'm like, what, the lady? He's like, bruh, yeah, the lady, you never see. She never had one face, Joe. And I'm like, bruh, I never see that. And he was scared. I never saw it, my friend never saw it, so we turned around, no more lady, there was nobody on the road. This was like not even a minute later, we turned around and then there was nobody on the road, no cars, no lady. Anyway, the story continues. We're like, oh, bro, what if the lady never had one face, bro? Oh, like that. And then we're talking about it with some other friends, and one of my good friends in Kailua, she was like, oh, no way. I'm like, yeah. She's like, that really what happened to you guys? I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh, because what happened to me last year? Same place, same time, same thing. One lady was thrown out of the car. Same thing you described. I saw the same thing. It happened to me. I'm like, for real? She's like, yeah. And then she started describing the lady, and I'm like, yeah, that's the one. So next year we went back Halloween midnight, driving up and down the road, and we saw the car pull over into the opposite lane. Headlights turn off. And we just watched. We kept all the windows up. We kept the door locked. And we drove by slowly until the lady would look up. And we see she never had one face. And then we dug out.
So, Joe, we're going to do that this year, aren't we? We're going to go back to the same place this year. And we're going to take a look at that because that just scared me. It tremendously scared the heck out of me. I had to say something.
That's where we were Halloween midnight last year. But nothing happened.
Oh, we got to try again. You got to be determined. Let me ask you for location wise. Okay, so I see Judd Trail in my head. Is this up where the tree tunnel is, past it, or before that? By Jackass
It's r-
Gingers?
no, you driving up. You driving up towards the border water supply.
Yeah, that's
You,
what I mean.
you get that little turn, and then you come out at the border water supply.
Yes.
The car came down right around that turn.
Okay, so that really verifies in a way, or it ties in or gives a idea, a connection with what happened when I shared that story. When we did the last Judd Trail, we tried to do the story, but the audio and everything. So, long story short, we were up there. There's something about August, okay? I'm going to tell everybody right now. You want to be hardhead, you go ahead and be hardhead, but that's not how sometimes you learn. And you want to learn the right way, not the wrong way. August is a very bad time to be up there. No joke. Me and Joe had a discussion about August and ghost activity and stuff. August is not a good time to be up in that area. So this happened in August. I just had my experience again a few weeks ago up in that area. Anyway, we're up there and we're doing some EVP. And we went there because of the Therese Wilder story and about her being a restless spirit. So we walk into that exact same tree tunnel, me and my friend of mine. And I'm talking, and it's so still up there. It's so quiet that when you shine your flashlight, I swear everything looked like a painting, a very spooky painting. Seriously, nothing was moving at all. And we're shining our flashlight, and I start calling out for Therese Wilder. And all of a sudden, with the flashlight beam in front of you on the road, you could hear someone go, something like that, like someone wailing in pain and sorrow too, really sad, like it was a scary yet tragic sound. And we just stopped. Nobody, the classic no move, no do nothing. You're in the dark. We're away from. We went up there with some other people. They're way behind us. We're in the tree tunnel, and my friend starts to cry, really seriously cry, and she goes, "We gotta leave." And I'm like, "I know, but I'm thinking as I'm talking, you're saying I know, but you're also thinking just in front of us, somebody was reacting to what we said." And it was very scary and you can't see the person. So I said, okay, you know what? We turn around, we walk very slow, and we go back. Meanwhile, I'm running a recorder. And on the recording, when I get back and I played it, you could hear her crying and say, come on, you got to walk fast. I said, no, we got to be careful while we walk. Let's just take our time, because you don't want to fall down and get hurt. And so we get back and listen to the recording. And while we're talking about being scared, there was this voice of a man, no joke, out of nowhere. I mean, not a voice, it was a laugh of a man. And it was kind of like this. It was kind of like, I'm not joking. That was on the damn recording. Someone mocking us and laughing at us. So I told my friend, I got chicken skin right now. I told my friend Jen, we got to go back up the tunnel and check this out, just because she would know what was going on, And if it was Therese Wilder, we would try to, help like a spirit cross or something. So as we go to walk back up there, from the tunnel, you could hear someone running down at us aggressively. Seriously, man, like full throttle running at us. And we kind of stopped. And then when we stopped, it stopped. And we went back up there. We went back up there and Jen looked around and she said, yeah, there's someone here. I said, well, who's here? She goes, it's this woman. I go, well, what about the woman? What happened with this woman? She said, well, yeah, this woman was attacked by a man. And it happened years ago. And I said, well, do you know who the woman is? And so she goes, well, who were you calling out for? Because she's trying to tell me her name. I said, oh, Therese Wilder. She goes, no, it's Teresa. The name of this woman is Teresa or something like that. And I was like, okay, you're blowing my freaking mind. You're blowing my mind. You're saying that, so what's going on with this situation? So what she said is, it's like a loop, which happens in hauntings, like an eternal loop like every once in a while, these spirits come back, whether you consider it residual or otherwise, and they repeat what's going on. But this is not exactly residual, because when we reacted to that voice that was crying out to us, this girl that was attacked. Now, what she's saying too in that is that these are two ghosts: the ghost of the woman that was attacked, and the ghost of the person that attacked her. Same place that Joe's talking about, in that one area right there. So that really freaks me out. Absolutely and completely freaks me out, because I do not take these things with a grain of salt. When it comes to ghosts, give me the whole salt shaker. I'll dump it behind both of my shoulders, whatever the case may be. Because so Joe, what are your thoughts about that? Because there's something there with that. There's got to be something there.
My initial thoughts, but as always, when something like that happens, because of my experiences, my first, I guess, self-preservation. My first immediate reaction is, this is a trickster.
Yeah.
This is a trickster. This is no good. And then I build my facts and collect my data, and from there. But initially, I'm not going to be, oh, this one little kid. Oh, well, come, Uncle Joe, come.
No.
No.
Mhm.
That's kind of the reaction at once. I'll tell you this much: good ghosts can stand to be around Jesus. If you were to pray, even bad ones can too, for a limited time. For a little while, they can, if they're really strong. I've known spirits, like, in dreams and stuff. I had a friend who was a dream medium. He has vivid dreams and a photographic memory, and what's it called when you can control your dreams and you're fully conscious?
Oh, I'm not too
Lucid.
sure. Lucid dreaming, yes.
Lucid dreaming. So this guy had trouble with a succubus. He lives in Wisconsin. He had trouble with what I thought was a succubus. Because this woman appeared and kept saving him, and this woman kept appearing out of nowhere, trying to gain his trust, and never said a word.
Mhm.
So I said, why don't you try appear? Why don't you, in your dreams, because you can control them, open a Bible? So he did. And this girl sat down next to him while he read the Bible. And I'd asked him, like, really? Because I can feel that this thing is no good. And he's like, yeah, but only for like 30 seconds to a minute. Then she left. I'm like, oh, okay. That kind of scary too. Anyway, with that girl Teresa, it's sometimes when it gets into ghosts, it gets just business. I will go ahead and if she needs help, I give help. If it's a story worth telling, I'll tell it. But it will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, she crossed over, we did this, that kind of stuff. If she needs help, she needs help. If she doesn't need help and just wants to hang out, I don't know about that. Because the ones that do hang out are the ones that have crossed over already and came back and live in that area. That's the Hawaiian spirit villagers. They're not trapped here by any means. They crossed over and chose to come back and live in the old Hawaiian way. These spirit villages, that's their version of heaven, is what I was told. But if she hasn't crossed over yet, then she doesn't fully see, and she may not be what she claims. I'm just always very, very, very cautious with spirits if they want my attention. Most of the time, spirits will be, hey, Joe, here's something. And then they walk away. Let me give you something. And then walk away. But to make themselves to manifest that clearly takes an enormous amount of effort. It doesn't just happen like somebody's crying unless everything is perfect, unless the stars are aligned. And you know what I mean?
Well, that's
And then
what I mean about August, though, dude. It's not a good time to be up there.
Well, that's the thing. The August has its vibe, but August, in my head, isn't really connected too much with manifestation.
Yeah.
Manifestation, October, the solstice, and the other one, You know what I mean? The summer solstice and the fall equinox. These are dates that, in my mind, are connected to manifestation.
Oh,
You
including
know, if
weather too. Yeah.
yeah, if there was a girl crying on one of these days, right around the solstice or the equinox, then there would be enough energy for us to hear it. But if it's not one of these days, there may be another source of energy. You never know. But usually, spirits have to take and consciously decide how they're going to manifest. And if this ghost can manifest in that way, if they know how to manifest, well,
Hmm.
it's not a ghost that needs help. You know what I mean? It's not someone who's begging to be crossed over. If they know and they've learned how to take energy and manifest to, that kind of stuff. It's a trickster.
I
I don't
think
know. I
I
don't
think
know.
I
I
think
don't
it
know where all
needs
this
more.
just came from.
I think it needs more. What you call it? It needs to be more studied as far as why it happens, why things happen at a certain time of year, as well as all these other things. Because I've seen crazy stuff happen, like even in lunar cycles. Like I remember one time, it was years ago when we was with our shared beloved friend Ivan. I was out with him, and it was something called, for real, it was called a honeymoon, and it only happens every 90 years. It comes around. Not only was it a honeymoon, it was also a Friday the 13th honeymoon. So for real, we show up at this graveyard, and it was me, Ivan, Alicia, and one of her friends. And we're kind of like checking the place out. It really felt different, but I mean, sometimes it's not even the moon that does it, but you could really feel it that night. And it was a beautiful moon. I mean, you're looking out towards Punch Bowl, and there's these clouds, and all of a sudden there's this honey-colored light along the black clouds, and I was like, wow. Me and Ivan are looking at that, and we're just talking about it, like, whoa, look at that, taking pictures and everything. Meanwhile, Alicia guys go walking away from
Oh
us,
God.
and so they were gone for a little while, and me and Ivan were just talking and stuff. Then I started taking pictures, and I started getting shadows. I started getting shadows in my photos. I was like, okay, okay, it's gonna be one of those nights. Okay, take that for what it is. That place has a lot of things that go on. There's a couple of haunted trees over there too. Um, but anyway, long story short, here comes Alicia and her friend, and she's talking to us, and she goes, "So, hey, who was the lady you guys was talking to?" I go, "What lady? The lady that was talking to you. What lady was talking? I'm talking to Ivan. Ivan's bald head. He doesn't have hair. He's not a lady. What the heck? What are you talking about? What drug did you take? And share next time." But anyway, so she's like, "No, there was a lady. We saw the lady with the long hair." I think, "No, there wasn't no lady." So check this out. So I start reviewing my photos, right? And by the way, you don't need an expensive camera to get pictures of ghosts. So I'm going through my photos. And I swear, dude, there was this picture. I don't know where it went, but it just is not available anymore for us to look at. Long, white, what I call obaki looking hair. Just like if you saw those old Japanese ghost movies that scared the crap out of you in the theater, and you would like kind of like cry and shishi in your pants at the same time. Um, that kind of thing. Long, twisted, white hair, just like going out like tendrils in front of my camera. And I kind of like look at Alicia them like, well, I guess there was a lady talking to us. We never saw her, but talk about the situations like that, I call it the perfect paranormal storm, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes it doesn't even involve these things we're talking about. It's just that you're in the right place at the wrong time, whatever you want to call it. That's just what happens. But oh, jeez, bro. These stories tonight. Joe, can we shift a bit to another aspect of Judd Trail?
Sure.
Talk about spooky things. When we do spirit boxes, that kind of popped in my head. What about that, dude? Because we've done some crazy. Talk about the Kodama and everything else over there. We've done spirit boxes where someone is talking to us in Japanese. So explain that to us, folks that are listening. But go ahead, Joe. Let's talk about spirit boxes up there.
We do a lot of spirit boxes up there, just because we're there most of the. That's our number one place to go, and
Yeah.
it's the best place to test out our equipment. And the ghosts there are friendly, but they can be scary too. And paranormal activity is pretty much a guarantee when you go there. The feeling. I'm not talking about a ghostly hand manifesting and slapping you upside your head. I'm talking about that feeling, the energy. It's always there. Or it's always going to be there. It comes and goes. Anyway, yeah, spirit box. I was thinking about sharing this story too. That involves a spirit box. Actually, there's two that come to mind right off the top of my head. We did the Facebook Live over there, 2018.
Hmm. Yeah.
Had Pokey and Jello. Wow, it sounds like food, yeah. It sounds- Jello and Pokey, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like food,
No.
man.
Pokey and Jello are
Yeah,
two
main course and
YouTubers, yeah.
dessert. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, was eating Pokey and Jello? No. Pokey and Jello were two YouTubers. So I was there doing a Facebook Live, and there was a few of us, And Pokey went out there. He was doing his recording for his YouTube, and Jello went out there doing his recording for his YouTube. It was pouring. It was raining cats and dogs. Like I made sure my van was empty, and then I just put all the seats down. You could fold them down, and most of us were just hanging out inside the van, you know, in the back, and just having a little powwow, spirit box session, and that kind of stuff. Two guys were standing out in the back, over where the trunk was open. So they were standing under the trunk, and over the sound of this torrential downpour, they hear, one guy is like, yeah, it was this older gentleman. First time he went out, and the only time he went out with us. Him and his friend or wife or something. He's like, did you just hear that? And I think it was about a quarter. He's like, bro, you heard the same thing. It's like, what? The girl screaming. The scream. Like, yeah, you heard the girl scream. Coming from the waterfall area. And then I'm like, wait, what? You heard a girl scream? And then on the spirit box, guy was on the spirit box, and he heard a girl say, help me. And we're like, what the hell's going on? Not even 2 minutes later, here comes Pokey and Jello running up, because they had gone out to record out into the rain, down onto the trail and stuff. They come running up from the trail. Joe, brah, you never guess what happened? I'm like, what's going on? He's like, brah, we was walking down by the river. Now, this one was away from the waterfall. He's like, bruh, I swear to you, I heard one girl on the other side of the river calling for help. I'm like, what? Yeah. I heard this girl say, help me, from the other side of the river. All of this thing happening at the same time in the spirit box and everything. And we went down there. Had a person watching the Facebook Live, and we're seeing if it was a real person. And the person, some of the people watching the live could hear over the sound of the rain somebody calling for help as well. But that was one of the spirit boxes. Yeah, we had the Japanese, the Fae. Whenever Fae comes out, we hear Japanese voices. Ringo, all kinds of different stuff. And, Japanese voice coming and talking. That's on the Spiritus.
Yeah.
And another night we went out there, me and Guy. I did a Facebook Live because we had what I thought was a monkey. At this time, there was a lot of rubbish, a lot of trash, garbage on the trail. People will put a garbage bag, and so everybody thinks that because there's a garbage bag, I'm just going to empty my car out over here. And it was there for about a year before my son and I cleaned it up. It was bad. Anyway, since that started, I noticed we started hearing a monkey like like that, like in the bush, and I'm like, what the hell? There's no monkey. We've had nights where we go looking for it. We go into the bushes, and I'm running around, and like there's no wind, there's no noise. I'm quietly going through it, going to where the sound is coming from. And then the sound is now moved to the treetops. And then I'm like, how the heck did we get like 50 yards away in the opposite direction? I never heard nothing moving, no leaves rustling, no anything. So I walk towards that, and it moves again, and it keeps moving. We turn on the spirit box. The guy used the PSB. He used the one that uses the radio frequencies.
Yeah.
Right. That scans through radio frequencies at whatever pace you set it. And so we were asking, it's just phonetics at that point. They don't get full words. we were asking, what is that sound in the bush? And it answered us 3 times. It said, pueo, owl. Then it occurred to me that the sound I thought was a monkey wasn't a monkey, it was an owl. Ooh, 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 you know? And so I'm like, okay, that was interesting. I'm like, guys, let's switch. Let me try use Spiritus. Spiritus is a bunch of, it's an app on your phone. It's a bunch of words, not words, it's a bunch of phonetics that are stored and randomly generated, kind of thing. We do the same thing. What's that noise you keep hearing in the bush? And we heard the same thing, respond to us with pueo. So, the spirit boxes, dude, they're always so. We'd be talking to things. I was just remembering a couple nights ago. Just recently, like one of the last times we were there, you were doing your YouTube thing, and you're using the spirit box. And I'm on the side in my head. I'm asking questions in my head, and not only does the spirit box answer it, but you answer it. I was talking to Jubal about that. We were hearing, like, I was asking in my head, I'm like, who's here? Who's here right now? Who's protecting us? And then it said Michael. And I'm like, huh. And then Obaki's like, I just heard Michael. And he had no idea what I was doing.
Just to let you know, there's a new spirit box experiment that is done with a blind, you can use a blindfold or a sleep mask. You put it on your eyes, and you use noise cancellation headphones. And there's a way to do a connection between what's going on with the spirit box and a person answering you that is in this state of deprived senses. Gotta look into that one day. Although it's kind of scary. It kind of sounds like spirit channeling as well.
Yeah,
but
that's what me and Jubal were talking about the other night. That's what we called the story.
Really? Okay, well, there you go, man. I mean,
yeah, sensory deprivation and stuff.
Yes, that's it right there. So, yeah, I mean, there's stuff too that we can't really tell you folks. We can't tell you because it is just, I mean, because of people we know and such. But trust me, there are things that happen at Judd that we're not discussing right now. It's not to tantalize you, but to give you an idea, a gauge to work with. A gauge, and thank you, Lord Juba, that's what it is. A gauge to work with. That, these things go beyond just stories. I mean, the stories are based upon our personal experiences, but there's some stuff that is just truly, you spend enough time in the dark, you spend enough time in these places, and the truly terrifying starts to manifest. No joke. I know Joe can attest to that as being true. The truly, truly disturbing and terrifying happens. And that's why I think this is important too, is just to talk about these things and at least give you guys an idea, an impression. These stories are fantastic. They're amazing, at Judd Trail. I think that's why Joe and I get drawn back to Judd Trail, because you get the scary and you get the other things that go on as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever smelled sulfur when there is bad spirits? Yes. That has happened. Hold your question a bit, Lord Job. I'm going to read it to you. Let you say it in a moment. Yes, that has happened. I've smelled sulfur, and then something really crazy happened. Seriously, that happened up at Tatlas. No joke. That's for real. Scary, scary stuff. I mean,
I've smelled sulfur a few times, but that's only been at the Poly Lookout, and it's been linked with Madame Pele.
Oh, there you go. See, different stuff, right?
The smell of evil is usually the rotting flesh kind of smell.
Oh yeah, dude.
You remember that time, bro? He was over at the cemetery, and we, I don't know what we was thinking, but we tried to do one small kind seance.
Yes, under the haunted tree.
Yeah, we sitting in one circle, and you're like, okay, pay attention to your senses, your smell, your feel. And I'm over there, and I'm absorbing everything, and I'm like, brah, I smell something sour, brah. You remember that?
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
and the guy next to me, he was like, "Oh, it's me. I was not wearing any deodorant."
Yeah. Yes. true, but there's some
No,
with
yeah,
the sulfur though. Yeah, that happened one night. We smelt it, and again, usually when for most of these situations where there's hauntings and spirits that come around and such, including demonic episodes, things will start to escalate, and you're over there trying to connect dots and everything. A whole bunch of things was going on, and then all of a sudden, the first thing we smelt was like this foul stench. I was like, "Who the hell is that?" And we're like, kind of like smelling our underarms, and that's not us. What is that smell? It's really bad though. It's worse than that. What is that? And then all of a sudden, it became like someone lit up a whole. Like how sometimes people will light up a whole book of matches, and there's that smell, from it. It was like strong. I was like, "Oh," and then I'm starting to think, not a good idea anymore to be here. This was, I won't tell people where it was at Tantalus, but we were up in the mountains. That's the other part that was bad. And so we start to retreat. And as we're leaving, this smell of like sulfur or anything that's like rotten eggs, yes, that's there. I take a photograph, and it looked like part of a man, like a white shape of a body, like the head, the shoulder, and everything. But that wasn't even the worst part. It's like, oh, strange photo. As we're trying to get away from this place, my friend freaks out, and he starts practically crying. He goes, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we're here. I'm so sorry that if we did anything wrong, please, just leave us alone." I never heard him say anything like that before. So we leave. And then when we get to the bottom of this trail, there's a little table to sit down, and he sits on a table and he puts his head like practically hitting the surface of the table and the top of it. Boom. I'm like, "What's wrong, dude? Tell me, because you're not moving. And he goes, "Well, there was something on the trail with us." I said, "I know, I smelled everything." He goes, "No, the part where I was saying I'm sorry and everything." He said it felt like this tentacle just came out of the dark and just wrapped itself around him and just started to suck out his life force. That's scary. That's really terrifying. And I don't try to dilute. I don't try to filter. I just call it as it is. And when you deal with those type of things, and it kind of relates to Judd Trail too, with the Kodama and other things, you're dealing with things that you cannot absolutely identify. When you think about that one fact, that tentacle coming out of the dark and wrapping itself around him, you know what I just started thinking about, Joe? I started thinking about H.P.
that.
Lovecraft and Cthulhu. Dude, I started thinking about stuff like that. Crazy,
Been a
crazy
lot.
things like that. So, yeah, it was something out there. But to answer your question, that's a no-no when you smell that. That's a no-no. It really is a no-no. Time to leave, pack up, go home, and just
Mm.
take a break. But yeah, so answer your
Yeah.
question. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. Joe, go ahead.
No, yeah, those. It's definitely for those. It's like, okay, let's leave. That kind of stuff has happened a few times on the tour, and it's like, all right, guys, let's leave, but we're gonna leave our own way.
Yes.
We're not gonna turn around and run. You know what I mean? Something bad might come. We're not gonna run from it. We're gonna willingly choose that right now is not a good time, and we're gonna leave. We've done this on the tour a few times when people are so scared, and I stop them, and I'm like, stop, don't run, come back over here. Turn around, look at the spirits, and say thank you, because don't lie, you wanted something to happen on the tour, you know. And now we turn around after everyone says mahalo, and so now we leave on our own terms. We say thank you, it's time to go. You don't run. It's like when dog, you run, they will chase you. But I prefer it that way. If a
Mm-hmm.
spirit is evil, come on out and smell like sulfur, farts, rotten eggs, whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the ones that lure you and trick you, and you know what I mean? Oh, here's this beautiful, intoxicating smell.
Right.
We had that down the old Pully Road before when we used to do the tours up at the Pully. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as we're talking, we walked down the old Pully Road a little ways, the old closed down part, and just do a small hike, and a couple times where we're sitting there and this just very enticing smell comes up, like something is pulling you down to come
Mm-hmm.
even further and further. It always smells like beautiful flowers, but it's just a little bit too sweet. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
It's
do.
not the gentle suggestion of the fragrance flowers. It's like, come, I got flowers, throw it in your face. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind I don't like because a lot of people seem to get tricked and fall for it, and that makes everything much more difficult. I don't like the liars. If you're gonna be evil with us, just be upfront. You know what I mean? Don't try to trick me.
Mm-hmm. Well, true. And at the same time, be kind of careful because they're good at pulling rugs and everything. Um, let's see here. Jubu wanted to ask a question. And by the way,
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna announce what the next show is gonna be in a little while, or I'm gonna ask Joe about this and see what he says. So hold on, folks, with that. Yeah, hold on. There we go. Okay. So anyway, guys, now that I got my camera figured out,
You ever heard of East Syracuse? That's what
was it?
Jubo asked. Have you ever used the water thing on East Spiritus? I don't know what East Spiritus is.
No, no. There's a whole bunch of different interesting theories and ideas, like what we were talking about earlier with the spirit
Yeah.
box. But I think to simplify is a lot better than to complicate. Or in other words, add in all these other things. Once in a while, it's good to do that. And I might try that one day. You never know. Yeah, I might try that
Oh,
with the
yeah,
spiritus, but I don't like to complicate too much. So I don't know
yeah.
about a lot of these things. I really don't
I
know.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't use the. I didn't know they had a water thing on the
No, he says
Spiritus
I'm
app.
cursed. He says I'm cursed by spell check. By spell
Yeah,
check.
yes, you are.
You're cursed. I'm so sorry, my friend. I didn't know that. Let me go back to
Did you
making the screen go the other way. Boop. There we
did
go.
you, did you
Okay.
know there was a water thing on Spiritus?
I know that there are several different types of things that people use. One they use for water, but it has nothing to do that much with spirit boxes. It's used for spirit imagery. They also do that with a picture
Ah,
within a
okay,
picture within a
okay.
picture within a picture. I know about stuff like that. Not everything. I don't say I'm well versed on every single
Okay.
thing, but that's
Is that what you're
because
talking about, Jubal? The imagery one where you click the thing and it just has the yeah. I thought that okay. You call it the water thing. I'm trying to figure out what on Spiritus is the water thing.
no, he said he's cursed
That's
by spell check, so he has a curse on him placed by
yeah.
modern
No, the
technology.
Spiritus app. That's when you click the little door, and all those smoky things come out and make faces or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
Oh, there you
I've
go.
used that. I think we've used that a few times. Never enough to actually take a screenshot of it, but we've seen things starting to form. But if you ever watch me use the Spiritus app, I'm usually concentrating really hard on the energy and letting something in and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at the stuff so much.
He is the modern Cassandra. Thank you for that, Kimchi Squared. Um, we're going to do a show specifically on spirit boxes. We're going to do, and as a matter of fact, we may even do a show where we're doing spirit boxes and run a spirit box or give you an example of that. Oh, if Joe is okay with it, maybe he'll step. We'll see how things are near October, in October, where we stand and everything. And we'll do a show entirely on spirit boxes because we've done stuff with it before. And you know what? To tell you the truth, it's more like you can't really say completely, but yeah, it's close enough to being like a modernized version of an Ouija board. You got to be careful when you mess with these things. Yes, yes, exactly, Lord Jubal. But if that was your question, Jubal, then okay, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that about the Spiritus app because I know it was one of the first ones that me and Joe started to look at and use. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
use a Spiritus every now and then, but before I do, I always teach people as best as I can.
the other one scares me
We
more. What's it called? Oh, the one that I turned you guys on to. Oh God, my head is not
Wow,
working.
you turn this on to all the apps, bro.
All the apps, dude. All the apps I turned you on to. Um,
There's Spiritus. There's Spirit. Yeah.
no, not
What's it called?
necrophonic. That one is pretty good. I have necrophonic. Uh, not it begins with a G, Gaius or something, or anyway. I'll look it up, guys, because I don't use. The reason why I say I don't know it offhand too is because number one, it scared us a couple of times. We used it at 13 turns, and with horrific voices coming out. At one point, it said, "You hear the beast," which I never ever want to hear come out of a spirit box ever again. I never want to hear those words.
See, when that happens to me, yeah, we'll get words that say like devil, evil. You know what I mean? And so I kind of just I laugh it off
Oh, but dude,
because
that was a night where all those fucking Geminis. Thank you very much, Dave.
Geminis, yes, of
That's a
course.
scary. That's a scary because
Yeah.
even Joe can attest to this. When you use Geminis, it's not even so much the fact, and we're just gonna go lightly over this because we are going to do a show on spirit boxes. But Joe will attest to this, and I'm just going to mention it briefly, and then everything changes, right, Joe? When Geminis gets turned on, the atmosphere and stuff.
Yeah. Here's
Yeah,
a question for you.
yeah.
Have you ever communicated? Has anything evil, demonic, Latin, powerful, that kind of stuff ever communicated with you via spirit box?
One night was on the night of the blue moon, again up at Tantalus. Freaking place is so terrifying, and we were out with Melissa, the haunted doll. Yeah, don't ask. Um, So we were up there. It was the night of the blue moon, and I did a YouTube video on this, man. We were doing Spirit Box on up there with Melissa there, and then the lights on my friend's car came on their own because we're all outside of the car. Everything is off. Just came on while the Spirit Box was running, and we looked at that. It was like, whoa, someone did that. And that place is known for spirits jumping into people's cars because we experienced that as well. Long story short, it turns itself off again. After a while, we can't take any more of this. So I had set up a camera, a thermal, not thermal. I set up my infrared camera across the street facing the trail, the cliff trail. So I went to go retrieve it. And my friend went with me to do it. Meanwhile, my other friend is like staying there with the doll, and the spirit box is running, and it said hell and Satan, and it started laughing like ha 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 like that, and I was like, whoa, freaking A, right? Okay, whatever,
See,
man. With that,
to
what
me, that's a low level spirit. That's
could
trying
be,
to
but
scare you
Joe,
via spirit
we
box.
the ultimately though we never really truly know, but yeah, more than
Yeah.
likely could be that, but
Well,
it was
like for
still scary enough.
example, you've been through demonic cases. I've been through demonic cases. They
Mm-hmm.
don't. I've never had one use a spiritus or a spirit box or any. Usually, the ones that are really strong and really evil, and the demons, they don't resort to those. They have a million other ways to communicate with you. So when
Yeah.
it comes in on spiritus or on a spirit box, and something says, I'm the devil, and I
Oh,
laugh
burnt. It
because
said
it's like,
burn and all that shit. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't hear none of
It's
that.
like, no,
Yeah.
you're not. But you're trying to scare me, and it's not working. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I laugh. It's like, are you? Yeah,
We'll do a whole
yeah.
show on this. We'll do a whole
Yeah.
show on spirit boxes because spirit boxes are no longer, your SB7, your SB11 and all that. It's these apps and everything that are out there
Mm.
right now. And sometimes like Geminis is and that's the one that scares me, so I think I shuttered it away in my head. Um um some of these apps are not even the most highly rated apps. But again, when you turn on Geminis, things will change, the atmosphere will change, and we started
Uh-huh,
doing
uh-huh.
prayers. Joe's, circle of
Spiritus is
protection. Yeah,
spiritus as well, bro.
yeah. Oh, but Geminis just, I don't know, dude. Geminis is good. Spiritus will do that. Yes, I agree. But we'll do a whole
There's a
show on spirit boxes, man. We will do a
Yeah, yeah,
whole
yeah,
show
yeah,
on it.
yeah.
We
I have
will
so
do it.
much to say about it. I'm like, I'll be patient.
Yeah, we will talk about how to use one, how to turn it off, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
everything. We'll go through all of that. Halloween's coming
Yeah,
up, so keep in mind,
yeah,
folks, we got a lot of crazy stuff
yeah.
to talk about.
And Rotman, yes, let sleeping spirits lie. I believe that.
Yeah, I believe
When
it
we
too.
go out, we communicate with whoever. We don't come out and say, "You come to us. We want
No,
to speak to you."
no,
We don't come
no.
over and say, "Therese Wilder, come, we want to talk."
Ooh.
We come back and say, "Is there anybody who would like to talk to us? If you're
Yeah,
here and you have something to say, come."
yeah, I
Or we
agree.
just come to entertain, tell ghost stories, and just. I like to just hang out with his ghosts because it's nice to walk with your ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Zap Bagan method. Are you trying to say Zach Bagan? Yep, you are cursed, my friend. You are so cursed with autocorrect, spell check. Um, there's people are doing so many different things, and sometimes I think these shows can help and be like an intermediary. In between, I'm trying to say between what's going on in television and more things that are focal. Um, it's nothing fancy, edited or anything else like that. Just people coming out there giving you the raw truth of the data that goes on in these places too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Teacher of not to do. Yeah. Zach goes out there, he can get very edgy. I don't have too much more to say about that fact. There's a movie he did called Demon House. If you want to see hardcore, put the pedal to the metal, watch Demon House, because that's crazy. That's absolutely, and he paid a price for that. And that's why, when we go to these places, I reflect and I think to myself, how many years have I done this? I'm still sane. I'm still sane. Yeah, that's my hand. That's my hand on the screen. I'm going woo. Don't worry, nothing paranormal. But I'm actually surprised that I'm sane. Seriously surprised that I'm sane because it can be like a type of wear and tear, encountering spirits and ghosts. Everyone has a threshold, and you're not supposed to go past that threshold. And
Yeah.
this is why I take breaks.
That's why I have friends that do the same thing I do, so that I know I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, exactly, man.
I, I have experience working with crazy people, and sometimes the similarities and the parallels are very close and very similar. And the stories I tell are usually not things that happen just to me, but I involve people in my stories because they are my balancing. They are to make sure that I'm not going nuts.
Yeah. And with that said, is there any like looking at Judd Trail again? Oh, okay. Cool house.
Yes, sir. It was cool.
Yeah, there it was. Uncle Joe, it was really nice to talk with you about the healing marchers the other night. Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. We've been talking about the healing marchers pretty often on this show, and I thank you, Kuhal, for bringing all of that, Kuhal, into the limelight with the type of shows that are coming out here now on Ghosts of Hawaii. And but
Oh, I just got your email, Kual. My apologies. I don't look at my email very much.
yeah, um, but as we get closer to Halloween, it's gonna get more into the scary stuff. And I think sometimes, real quick here, and then we'll talk about the real scary stuff at Judd Trail because I know there's some scary stuff. Um, I think about how holidays are set up. I think I talked to this to Joe before. In the fall, we go through Halloween. Really, people get drawn to dark stuff and the movies and the parties, whatever else. But there is that curiosity about it. And then we go into Thanksgiving and into Christmas, and it just seems like a spiritual pattern with that. Like for some reason, we need to go through all of this and understand, that there is a side to life that we should be aware of. And sometimes it can be scary and it can be unknown to some degree. And then, there's that cleaning things up. And then we get to Christmas and everything is bright and cheery. I mean, it's just really good and nice. And I just think it's interesting how these things play out. But we are getting closer to Halloween. So you're going to see these shows start to change into very dark subject matters. And Joe Punohu is, I can't, there's few people I can think of that can actually do this some justice. And, so you're going to see this change goes on, probably within the next several weeks, the transition more and more to the scary. So if you're into scary, then yeah, stay tuned for the scary stuff. And Joe will be very good at conveying some of the spooky things that are out there. But then again, so I think, Joe, let me ask you this question. I think locals love this, right? I mean, we are proud of our ghost stories, aren't we?
Yeah, sharing ghost stories is for me, it's sharing a part of myself because it's not just a story; it's a journey. It's the meaning behind it. It's how we can grow from it. Um, yeah, we're proud of our ghost stories. When someone shares with you their ghost story, they're sharing you a part of themselves. I noticed from working with the tourism industry and all of that, a lot of people just love ghost stories to be scared. I will tell you, and Obake will 100% agree. Trust me, you don't want to get into this field to be scared because you will be. That's the problem with wishing for something. It can happen.
Definitely.
I'm in this field. Initially, it was to be afraid. It was to explore. It was to learn. But more now, it's to learn and to share. To share the experiences with people because I don't know how many of you actually go out to Judd Trail like 6, 7 times a month at nighttime, like we do for hours. If we could share any of our lessons and stuff like that, I believe our lives can be enriched from it. Not all ghosts are bad, and if it's a bad, I notice that it's like I know places that are just scary as hell. We have a lot of bad things happen there, and the people are always like, "Joe, we need to go back. Joe, we need to go back. Joe, we need to go back." I'm like, why? Why? Why do you want to walk next to something that can possess you? No. Let's go to a place where there's nice ghosts for once.
No, that's very true. I totally am in agreement with you on that. And so, if we were to look at I know there's several to look at. Uh, Most scary encounter at Judd Trail, what would it be for you? Something that just caught you off guard or something like that. Or just, maybe startled you or whatever you would consider to be like, well, that's not supposed to happen. And I know part of it too, Joe, is that you've been a tour guide and you've been stopping at these places. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that may have stood out for you, like the one where the woman got scratched. Um, I've seen someone share stuff with me about ghost tours here on Oahu, and I seen some crazy stuff in photographs, crazy stuff. But what
Mm.
would stick out for you as some of the most scary things there?
That's hard to say because I'm really not that afraid of Judge Fair.
Right.
There's a lot of good spirits, and I feel protected there. I do feel the occasional, caution. Do not overstep your boundaries. When the spirits are doing their thing and we're not supposed to be part of it, we got to stay on our side. They got to stay on theirs. Also, I would say the thing about Judd that just sticks out and has affected me the most is what they can do with the energy, how they can manifest in the form of the trees. I mean, yeah, you hear about ghosts, you hear about manifesting. One person will see red eyes, maybe two people will see red eyes, maybe you'll hear a noise. But I've been there nights where imagine you're standing in a clearing, and around the clearing is a circle of trees, right? And there's one tree, this goes all the way around to the circle, and everywhere else, but you're in a little circle. I've been there nights where there's no wind, and the trees creak, one, and then the next one creaks, and then the next one creaks, and that creaking is moving around you in a circle for 5 minutes. It's like they don't creak all at the same time. There's no logic behind it at all. It's like something is intentionally creaking it. I've seen the trees almost fall down. I've seen the trees fall down. These huge trees bent like a rubber band. These hardwood trees. I've been on there. I've been there with nights where the anger is so high because the tour guide that we were with was telling lies and telling fake stories and stuff, and the anger was so palpable. Other people on tour could feel it, and the wind responded to the guy's voice and the guy's stories by getting louder, by getting more dangerous, by shaking the trees back and forth to the point where the trees were bending over, threatening to fall on us. And these trees are over 100 feet high. You know, I've seen a night where that tree that used to be there 10 years ago, it used to be this huge, scary looking tree that a big branch hung out across the road. And we park right under the branch. We think nothing of it. One night we had blue orbs all over that tree, all over the branch, concentrated in that branch. I remember somebody came up there like, look, I got blue orbs. I'm like, blue orbs are protection and they're guardians. You know, they're here to protect you and shield you. And the dark blue orbs are his family member said. And so blue orbs are nice, but it always tells you if you have a lot of blue orbs protecting you, there's something that they're protecting you from. And I could not figure out for the life of me why there were blue orbs in that tree until we found out later that night that that branch came crashing down not even 15 minutes after we left the site. And it would have just completely crushed our van if we were there. It was holding the branch up for us to leave. You know, the amount of mana over there, what they can do is just, I mean, I'll tell you, it's eerie as heck just standing there in the pitch black in the circle, listening to the trees creaking around you, listening to it not be random and feeling the eyes just circling. You know, that's kind of the feeling that's what stands out for me. That's the scary part, the part that's left me in awe, that kind of stuff.
Excellent. I can concur that there are things that come out of the blue, or again, when you talk about connecting dots, then like with what you just mentioned, that it does happen. As soon as you were talking about the tree branch and the orbs and family members and protection, right before you said it, I'm like, well, there's got to be something around here that they're trying to protect us from, as well. And you know, sometimes I think of places like Judd Trail as like, I don't know. What popped in my head was like, I don't know why, like a bus stop. You know, like it's like it's one of many places, but if you go there, it's a bus stop kind of thing. You get off the bus here, you have your experience, move on to the next place because, you know, I mean, honestly, you look at Old Pali Drive, Morgan's Corner, Judd Trail, Kaniakapupu, even the border water supply. Crazy stuff has happened over there too. You know, I have a couple of stories about the border water supply. The one I shared about the person that died in a motorcycle accident, and I saw this weird motorcycle in the dark. They were just there, and it looked like it had been there for a very long time. And I'm like, that's impossible, because I know there's no motorcycle around here. You know, it looked like it was like part of the landscape. When you see something that old and it looks like part of the landscape, practically like that. I mean, you see some crazy things up in that area, and you know, it's like one stop to the next stop to the other stop and the other stop, and each of these places will give you a unique perspective, or sometimes you know, it'll just share it. These places have personalities, put it to you that way. They have personalities. Morgan's Corner has its own personality. That's why I get drawn to it. It'll show you that, hey, you want to get scared or whatever, you know, if you don't believe, or if you want to show somebody that this is real, which is what I try to do with what I do when I go out there. Morgan's Corner will show you that. It'll literally show you that. I mean, the people that have come out with me can testify that, you know, but then again, that shows you one imprint, one set of circumstances. And along the way, here's Judd Trail with all of these different type of experiences that happen. And it just, you know, it's just that type of place. You know, each of them are different. And Judd Trail, just so happens to be very unique with what it has been offering people. And I say that word cautiously. I don't say offer like, here you go, we're all friends here. Sometimes you get that feeling. Sometimes it's like, you know what, you shouldn't be bothering us, you know, type of feeling as well. So
Mhm.
that's what
Oh
I feel
yeah.
about Judd Trail and all those places over there. They each have something to offer you. Then again, like a few weeks ago when I went out and I did the TikTok video and everything, the whole place was crazy. It was just crazy. That smell of death. It's like driving your car directly into it, man. And it just was all everywhere. It was just, you couldn't escape it, you know? So take that for what you will about these places. And I know that I agree with Joe with the whole idea that for some reason, though, out of all those places there, you'll find us when there's not a pandemic or when everything is okay, parking our cars up there and sitting down and either talking story or listening to the stories that they have to share with us, more or
Hmm.
less. What do you think, Joe?
Oh yeah. We go up there to learn what we can from the kupun, from our
Mm-hmm.
elders that have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. We go up there to learn, to let them know that we have not forgotten them, and to ask them to keep watch over us because we're the ones that need them a lot of the time.
Oh, thank you. Ku said, "What an amazing show it is, Obaki. I enjoyed everything, especially with Uncle Joe Punohu." I agree too. Joe is a fantastic guest, and I'm very grateful. I remember the very first video I ever did was with Joe Punohu, and for my channel, and we were sitting up at the old lily pond, and it was a very sad night. We just found out that Ivan had passed away, and Joe was,
Mm.
Joe likes to tell stories and everything. He says it from his heart. But that night we were both pretty much quiet. We were like so devastated. And we were sitting down there and Joe was using Spiritus. And I pulled out my trail camera, my infrared. And as we're doing all of this, there's like this spirit mist that just kind of like shot into the front of the camera. And then it just pulled itself away, and it did that, I think, twice. And, it went from that to where we're at right now with Joe tonight. And I'm very grateful and I'm very humble. And for guests like Ku as well and everyone else that we've had, thank you guys. Because I mean, it's not just, all about me. I've always said it's not me, it's all of us together doing this, just like how we face this pandemic. So thank you guys all. And thank you, Joe, for making this
Hmm.
interesting. At this point, Joe, let me kind of share an idea with you, if you don't mind.
Uh-huh.
Next show I'm thinking about, um, Old Polly Lookout.
Can.
There you go. More so with Joe being a tour guide, guys. And how's that sound for a show? That sound good or what?
Yeah, even the haunted place series. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Old Polly Lookout. Next show that we're going to do about haunted places and the stories that are involved with them. And by the way, if you folks have any questions, please feel free to share them. Joe, I feel like we just went on this cerebral buzz trip. Just I don't know. That's what I feel. Yeah, we're gonna do Old Polly Lookout. I think that's a great show. Seriously, that's another place. I don't know. Old Polly Lookout is one of our. What would I call it? It's a centerpiece to our hauntings here on the island of Oahu. And there's a lot to talk about with that, including experiences and pictures and everything too. Old Polly Lookout. That's what they call it, Lord Jugal. Because it's not the new Polly Lookout. So we'll do a show on that. That's coming up. Any questions anyone has? Oh, I always remember the stories of people carrying pork over the Polly. No, yeah, don't do that. We can talk about that too, because it's Polly. It's Polly. We can talk about the pork and everything. Yeah, the Polly Lookout. Yes, the old Polly Lookout. We're going to be talking about the Polly Lookout itself. We can connect things, factor in Old Pully Road, because I might have one of my guests. Oh, I know we can talk about too, Joe. Dang it. We can talk about the night you guys walked down Old Pully Road
Which night? Which time was that?
with Ivan and everyone.
Oh yeah.
You guys went all the way down, dude.
Me, Ivan, and Guy went all the way down. Yeah.
You guys went all the way down, dude. I always wanted to do that, but you can't do it anymore. We can talk about so
Yeah.
many things, why the landslide happened. I think it's going
Yeah.
to be a great show. Would you and Joe be okay if I took inspiration from some of the stories you are telling for a story I'm writing? It is totally fine to say no. Of course, Joe, what do you think? Holy Pilikia, share, right? Share.
Hold on.
I say it's okay. I have no problem with it.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Only thing that I ask is if you're going to share any of our stories, is to give credit and to tell it the right way.
Oh, yeah, I agree. So if you hear that kimchi squared, give credit and tell it the right way.
That's kind of what we try to do when we tell other like Glenn Grant stories.
Yes.
We cite the source and we try to tell it the best, the right way. We don't try not to change. We don't change anything, kind of thing.
Yeah, excellent.
Well, I mean, stay true to what it's about. Don't we had the Travel Channel that completely took one of our stories and just mishmashed it into something that they wanted to use for themselves, and it was no longer anything that happened to us.
I'm sorry, Smarty Pants just came back. Smarty Pants, you missed a lot of stuff. But yeah, welcome back, Smarty Pants. Yes, I'm planning to give credits to this channel and to you as individuals. Thank you. As a matter of fact, do me a favor. Continue to share. Share the channel with people. I know Kimchi, you're on TikTok. If you can tell some of your TikTok friends, and let them come in. And the only thing I ask too is if you're gonna come on the channel, be nice. Be nice. I mean, I understand some people are bored, they're lonely, they're desperate for attention, and they're gonna come on and they're gonna say nanny, nanny, boo boo, and all of this stuff. But honestly, you know, wear your big pants well. Don't make them feel tight because it looks like you're not wearing your big pants. Thank you, Joe. I will keep that in mind and try not to modify it or do anything to take away from the original stories. I missed a lot while I was in the shower. Yeah, but it's okay if you missed out. It's fine. These things happen. Don't worry about it. So yeah, we're gonna do Old Pully Lookout, and I'm looking forward to that. Mama said there'll be days like this. No, I'm kidding. Mama said, do you ever use crystals, incense, along with prayers for protection when you go out to these places? I know Joe could answer that, but also Joe, let's do a show on that. How do you think about that as well?
That's not one of my strong points.
Mm-hmm.
The incense and the crystals, I have some knowledge of them.
Yeah.
That would be a great show, and I'd love to hear about it, but you would have to find somebody a little bit more knowledgeable.
Or we can share somehow.
Yeah, I may have a few stories, but
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've seen people use that. But to be honest, with everything that's out there and people that are using it, I would have to say as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mama, I don't use that for protection. I use it for protocol. Like when you go to a Chinese cemetery or a Japanese cemetery, you light senko, you light incense. We use it to let the spirits know that we're recognizing you as, we're doing things the way you were used to. But in terms of protection, I know people who use crystals. Jamie would be a good person for that.
Yeah. I'll bring Jamie. I don't know if you're watching or you were watching earlier, but Jamie, that would be a good show to have you on for as well. And I tell you, oh boy, October is going to be.
Actually, I do have a crystal that I use for protection, but it's not for me. It's for other people. The female one with the male counterpart, Punohu.
The sage actually work. You know what? I think there's only one thing that I know for sure, and it's just based upon what it was said in the Bible when it said the truth shall set you free. I think that it can, but I also think it's left to interpretation. I think it's what you believe will work and help. I use a good example of that. It was in the movie, I believe, Salem's Lot, when the priest holds up the cross to the vampire, and the vampire grabs the cross and it crushes it. And he says to him, "Your faith isn't strong enough," along those lines. Okay, with that being said, though, I believe that there is one universal truth. And I don't believe the other side is scattered in all these different directions. It's not like it's not organized, it's very well organized. And the more you do with this, or you run into circumstances as well, you'll see signs of that. You'll see signs of God. Trust me, when you run across the big baddie, your eyes open up a little bit more. But as far as sage and everything working, yeah, I believe it can and it will. I also believe that it's also based on connections, but we've used it. I have.
Yeah, I
So
got a story related to that if you have one.
go right ahead, Joe. You are the storyteller, and I love to hear what you say.
First off, I want to answer the question, Sage. Um, I think Uncle Reuben could use it. He is a Native American elder and shaman,
Hmm.
and if he uses it, it would be more powerful than, say, somebody who just bought it from the store and never used it. He uses it. You know what I mean? You use what is your strengths, whether it's in your blood or your upbringing or your culture. I'm Hawaiian Catholic, so I use tea leaf, Hawaiian salt, holy water, cross. Right. That's what works for me. Sage might, but that's not my strength. Sage, I think, is a great thing to use for energy removal. Look at it this way: your house has so much stagnant energy. Um, and as Doug told me, he described it. The energy, negative energy, after a while, he can see it. He says it tends to crystallize on the wall like tar and become harder and harder to remove until it gets dry, and as I said, it crystallizes. Sage, holy water, blessing will get rid of that. But
Yes.
in terms of entities, that's different. That's a will. That's a personal thing. Anyway, the story was I can't tell you where this place was, but in 2014, right before I went on my trip to Bobby Mackey's, we went over to we got invited to an investigation. I can tell you this much: it's a counseling center for youth, teenagers, troubled, that kind of stuff. It was haunted. There were things happening. There were bad things. There was a lot of bad energy, bad vibes. We used sage there. It was almost like a dormitory setting. Well, actually, it used to be a dormitory setting, the girls' dorm, the boys' dorm. We ended up blessing the entire place, holy water, salt, tea leaf, and it was cool. It was real creepy. And we walked through this place, and this place was an old abandoned, graffitied, like correctional institute for people, like the gates and everything, and it was like the locks and the doors you have to walk through, and it was creepy, just empty rooms with like the bed frames and graffiti, broken windows, and the bars on the windows and all of that stuff. We started there and we lifted all the bad energy. And we worked our way to the building where the girls were. And they used to live there. They don't live there anymore. It's a day thing. So we started, that's when my friend was saging. And I did the tea leaf and the holy water and stuff. And we started from the top of the floor, like the second floor, and we worked our way down. Now, the interesting part was, as we initially investigated the place, the guy in charge was showing us around, telling us what happened. And he showed us, as we were walking by, and it was a garden. I'm like, oh, it's a nice garden. He's like, yeah, it doesn't grow anything. The soil over here is bad. Just weeds. Doesn't grow. Nothing will grow over here. One word that kept coming up with the random word generator was jinn, Jinn, or yeah, it was just jinn, Jinn. That's like a spirit type of thing, biblical. Some people say Middle Eastern genies, that kind of thing. We caught a lot of evidence. One of which was with the grid, the laser pointer grid. My friend set his up, and we watched something walk across the hall, a shadow of a man disappear into the wall. Anyway, so we saged everything, and the last room on the bottom, right before we were going out, because once you sage and bless, it cannot be in there. That is now off limits. So you sage the door last to force them out of the room, and that kind of stuff. We were in the last room, and I remember I could feel the presence of something there. Before, It was intimidating. It was mad, and I just ignored it. It's like it's not what we're here to do something. We're not here to be. Oh my God, look, it's scary. No, but we're here to do something. Just don't get in my way. But this big bad thing felt small now. After we had blessed and saged the entire property, it felt small, it felt scared, and it felt vulnerable. Around me, I had all of the guardians around, the guardians of the land, of the Aina over there, my guardians that came with me, and they were all just, in my head, I could see them all just looking at this poor soul. This, I wouldn't say poor, it's been wreaking havoc and doing bad stuff, but now it was just pitiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was about to bless the room, essentially kicking it out, I talked to it instead. My friend was with me as well. I'm like, listen, you don't need to be bad. I'm like, I'll tell you what, because I just felt this pull, and I went with it. I'm like, I'm not going to kick you out, but you don't need to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'll tell you what, you can stay here, but you must start helping people. If you don't want to help people, then get the heck out. I said, I'm not going to bless this room. I'll leave you here, but these guardians, I'm leaving here to watch over you. So you are going to have to stay, and you're going to have to be good, and you're going to have to start helping people and reaping the benefits from that. Kind of like Monsters, Inc., right? The laughter was more energy, provided more energy than being scared. That's kind of the thought pattern. I didn't think of Monsters, Inc., but like you can use happy energy, good energy to feed or whatever. You don't need to make the whole place covered in despair to suit your taste. Like, it's your choice. And then I left. But a month or two later, the guy called us back and he said that the garden was in full bloom for the first time. The energy has changed. Everybody is good. It's a place where people need to heal, and now it's actually back. That was one of the cases that stuck out to me the most. One of the investigations that stuck out. I wouldn't say that this is me that say these words. These thoughts come into my head, and I think my guardians sometimes are like, what the hell, Joe? This thing is bad, get rid of it. I'm the kind of person to give a demon a second chance and say, you don't need to be bad, Try being a good demon instead,
And it's so.
I think God created everything.
I think that's so Inuyasha. We have a question here, or a comment. Someone on Twitter said that if you sage a closed room, they can't leave, so you just chasing the spirits around in circles. Well, that's exactly true, though. I mean, you have to create a path for the spirit to actually leave. You don't want to. It's like putting a bee in a bottle.
Yes.
Am I right, Joe? And then it's all just, I can't go anywhere. I'm so upset.
That's the part that drives me crazy. I'm in charge of the group Hawaiian Hauntings, I made the group. And a lot of people come on the group and they post and they ask for help. And you have like 50 people like, oh, call a priest. Oh, sage your house. Oh, do this, do that. And sometimes you'll read about it and they're like, oh, I need help. I saged my house and now it's worse. And so I message them like, do you know how to sage your house properly? Oh, you just light up the sage and walk around the house, right? I'm like, no.
Nope.
It's what you do. Yeah, exactly. You blocking off all the windows. You blocking off the entire room. The sage, the holy water, the salt creates a wall that they cannot pass. That's the whole point of doing it. They can't cross that line. If you're gonna cover the door, how are you gonna get out?
Yeah. Always provide that exit for them.
Yeah.
You need that exit.
So you need to know how to sage. And yeah, smarty pants. Senko can act like sage as well. Senko is more of an ancestral thing, and the scent I always link to more of it.
Oh, what the heck was that? Hold on. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
There was a voice, man. Like what I hear when I go out. When you said Senko, it was a voice, female, and said same. I don't know if it'll come out on the video. If it was just spirits are tricky. Sometimes you can record them speaking and such, or even see them. Sometimes you don't. But I had to pause. It said same, but in a female voice when you said Senko. Go on, continue.
Same.
Same, yeah.
Same.
Same, like in, same old song. Yeah, same.
It feels more of an ancestral to me. Like you are paying homage to your ancestors, and so it's like when you talk about somebody, they come. You like Senko, and they come over and see what's up, and just say, "Oh, right on," that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing that, you invite good into your house as well, and the smoke and stuff. You can use anything to bless your house. It's the intent you put behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, let's see if there's anything else here. Guys, we've had an incredible show. We're going on like 3 hours, but I'm not surprised at all. Plot twist, question mark. To plot twist, let's put a question mark at the end of that. Folks, we got another great show coming up with, like I said, with Old Polly Lookout. Any other questions you'd like to ask right now? That'd be great. If not, we'll wrap things up. And then, of course, next week, I believe, Brother Koo comes back with another show, and he's going to talk about Ho'okupu. And I like how this mix goes in. Like we talk about the real spooky, and then Brother Koo comes in now and then, and he says, "Well, let's look at life in this particular way." So we got Brother Koo coming up next week. Also, yeah, tea leaves as well. We can do a whole. Trust me, shows for days and days and days. Trust me. As far as the Old Polly Lookout, I like to do another one as soon as possible. And I agree with what Joe said. We've been doing this for such a long time. And now, all of this has happened. If anything, maybe it serves some kind of purpose in that we can kind of like now we can stop and reflect and say, well, within this time span, all of these different things have happened, and all of the mana'o and everything else that we've, gained through the years with all of this. And so, yeah. Joe, you want to do Old Polly Lookout in the next couple days or next week? Is that good with you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. And anything else that comes into mind, we'll let you know and definitely bring him back. Obaki and Uncle Joe, awesome stream tonight. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you as well. Thank you so much for everything from Ku. Obaki, thank you for accepting me into the Ghosts of Hawaii group. Dude, thank you. Anyone that comes into my group or to Hawaiian Hauntings group, I consider that to be a great thing. It's just adding on to what's already there. Kim Chi Squared says, thank you for coming and answering our questions. This was a really fun stream. I agree. Absolutely. When me and Joe start talking, it just goes into many different places. Some of the YouTube videos. We did a YouTube video once where it was just like, okay, we're a judge. That's how I do my YouTube and whatever. None of that fancy stuff. Okay, I'm here. I'm turning on the camera, and we're going for it, and we do go for it. And all of a sudden, we're in the car and we're driving, and we're just talking all kind of stuff. And that's the night that me and Joe were up by Old Polly Lookout. Speaking of Old Polly Lookout in that area, we saw this mist come right at us, like boom, like it just unbelievable things that happen, and just like those type of experiences, when we start talking, all these things pop up. Like I remember the first Judd Trail show. This is not even anything close to what the first Judd Trail show was. This is absolutely in a league of its own, and classic stuff. Really, it truly is. It's because of my guest here, folks. And one of his secrets is caffeine. Can I say that? It's caffeine. Caffeine is one of your secrets.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we've been talking so long. Thank you, Aristocat. Faye, I'm sorry if I didn't acknowledge you earlier. I don't know if Faye is watching. Oh, by the way, Faye, if you are watching, I'm going to text you because I'm going to do a show with you again, talking about ghost hunting, or like I call it, ghosts. Smarty Pants, thank you all for being here. And again, remember that you are part of this show. You're not just the audience. I know that we need to reach a point where we can talk to each other with our guests, but I appreciate your patience and the amazing questions that you come up with as well.
Oh yeah, that does it for me.
Yeah, it does too. Yeah.
I can't talk to myself for hours, but I can talk with people, not too long.
Yeah, this is a great format, and I know that I really appreciate having Joe here to talk about these things and these places. And like I said, this is an ongoing series, so keep that in mind. We will be doing different places, and we'll be sharing our impressions and our experiences with all of you. And of course, we invite you to share that as well. And speaking of that, everybody, If you have a story or something that you'd like to share or anything like that, get a hold of me. You can leave it in the comments section. You can also email me about it as well. Or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, it's real simple. Get Skype, or if you have like a Amazon device, that's how me and Joe are rapping tonight. So anything that I can connect with you in that way, it'll be great, and we can do all kind of neat little things with that. That's how Brother Cool came on this show as well. And so thank you for showing interest in all of this. Joe, let's
Hmm.
tell these people about, again, the always wonderful and interesting Hawaiian Hauntings group that you have and contact info. Go right ahead, my friend.
So yeah, Hawaiian Hauntings Facebook group. Come join. We talk stories, share pictures, whatever. Good community of people. You can contact me on Facebook or my email, Joseph_Punohu, Punohu at gmail.com. Yeah, I try to respond to everybody. I have time. We quarantine.
Yeah. But he does get busy at time, people. And also tell them about the wonderful Hawaiian haunting products that you have in the midst of working on
Yeah.
too.
We have T-shirts that say Hawaiian Hauntings with design. Jamie, my good friend Jamie, my other half made them. So we also have Hawaiian Hunting cups and masks for sale. The masks have a little tiki face on it. They have a little mouth, a little tiki mouth.
They look good. You gotta check it out, folks. Join Hawaiian Hauntings. You'll be glad that you did. Seriously, I sound like I'm endorsing a product, but I'm endorsing it. I'm endorsing. It sounds like it's like soda pop or something, but I'm actually endorsing a great group. So go ahead and check them out,
Thank you.
folks. Yeah, you're very welcome, my friend. You deserve all of that, the accolades and everything. As far as me, little old humble me, with this platform to allow people to express themselves, quote unquote, Madonna. Um, to do that, it's you just go to Facebook, and God bless you too, cool. You take care, my friend. Go to Facebook and you can find me there, Obaki Hunter. Not hard to find. I'm probably one of the only person that uses that name, except for one other person. You can go over there and you can look at my groups as well, Ghosts of Hawaii. We do paranormal, but we also do a lot of spiritual stuff. So if you need help with something that's going on, you need prayer or something like that to help you folks out, we do that. We do a lot of fun things. We got some tonight. I'm doing. Okay, I gotta say this real quick. Okay, so the here's the pandemic. It started, right? So the pandemic is here. And last night I said, okay, it's 12 o'clock at night. The pandemic is here. Not the pandemic, but the lockdown is here. And so what I did was I said, I'm going to come up with Ghosts of Hawaii late night theater. So what I did was I posted on my group. The first movie was Gamera. If you know anything about Godzilla and stuff like that. So it's just something on my group I do that's kind of fun. It's like, well, okay, he posts a movie. At least I can watch something, get my mind off of things. I got another one tonight too, Gamera versus Baragon. If you want to watch that, feel free to join my group. Join in on the zaniness, the paranormal, the spiritual, and everything, all at Ghosts of Hawaii. Or you can go over to 808 Most Haunted 2, which was my friend's group before, and I'm now the caretaker of it and proud to do so. Over there, we share stories as well. There's three questions to answer when we ask them. But if you say, hey, I was on last night's show, I automatically know who you are, and I might recognize your name anyway. But just let me know who you are. Boom, you're in. What else can you do? You can contact me, or you can look at my social media where I post a lot of the shows and sometimes some things that I find of interest on Instagram. You can look for ghost_of_Hawaii. Check it out over there as well. You can also find me on TikTok now. Can you believe that? Although I don't have time to really do videos because I'm stuck in my house right now. Well, maybe I'll find a way to do something with that because I did something with Melissa. Again, don't ask. Anyway, so at TikTok, it's just Ghosts of Hawaii. Go ahead and do that. Check it out on there as well. And finally, if you want to email me with all of this contact info, it's real easy. It's obakihunter51 at gmail.com. All lowercase, OBAKEHUN as in nickel, TER51 at gmail.com. You can send me stories or suggestions for shows, or if you want me to read a story, that's great too. You want to be a guest, contact me there as well. Maybe I can teach them the renegade dance. What is that? I'm chuckling at the idea of making ghost TikTok content. Oh, go right ahead. You can do that. Whatever just be safe with what you do with the paranormal. Yeah. Look at my finger. Look at my hand. Anyway, be careful with what you do. Yeah. Maybe you can teach them the renegade dance. Maybe it's what the kids are doing nowadays. Okay, you kids, just do your thing. Maybe Joe can do a show on dancing. Maybe Joe can do a show on dancing. We can do like the Uhane dance or something. I don't know. I'm just saying things off the top of my head that never stops working and saying things. Trust me, I don't need coffee. I'm Portuguese by association. But you probably don't know what Portuguese means, but that's okay. Anyway, again, thank you all for being part of the show tonight. Next week, 2 big shows coming up, and maybe one more again this weekend with Joe Punohu. That's why I tell people, please like and subscribe to the channel. You get all the updates in case I post something last minute. Boom, you'll see it, So check it out as well. I'm going to talk with Joe for a little bit after the show. And again, the energy was great. I got to thank Joe for the amazing
Pleasure,
stuff.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, we're just going, if we went for another half hour, we'd be 3 hours. But that says a lot with that right there. I will talk to you folks again soon. Thank you, Mama. I really appreciate that. This show just seems to be, doing something that's very special for all of you. And I appreciate you folks being a part of it. Mahalo, Uncle Joe. Good night. Good night, Ku. I will see you next Wednesday, 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about Ho'okupu. And, the great things about these shows with Ku as well, they also tie into the paranormal. One final thing. In the month of October, Ku is going to join Joe and some of my other guests, and we're going to talk about night marchers. I'm going to get different perceptions on it and just bring it all together. We'll find our own way to just look at it for what it is, and I think we're going to have a good and interesting month with that. So I will talk to you all later. Ghosts of Hawaii, you're home for a dose of ghosts. And sometimes dances that I never heard of before. But thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing the dance with me. I appreciate that. Good night to all of you. Have a good night. Stay safe. God bless. Talk soon, yeah? Aloha.
Aloha.